Chapter 673, You Are Not a Good Dog. 3. I've already sent people to investigate, but there are no results yet, Wu Ming explained. Oh. Then tell me what's the situation now? The thin old man pointed at the head butler. Second elder, many courtyards of our Wu family exploded. Moreover, many people were injured. No one is dead at the moment, the head butler said hurriedly. Haven't found the enemy yet? Second elder asked. No, I think they've probably run away long ago, the head butler guessed. Run away? Humph. Our Wu family's defense is so tight. How can the enemy run away so easily? I think the possibility of a traitor is very high. Call the third butler over, second elder ordered with full force. Yes, the senior manager quickly answered and turned to look for the third butler. Soon, the head butler led the third butler to the yard of the main mansion. Greetings to the patriarch and the elders. Cold sweat rolled down the third elder's forehead as he said anxiously. Boo-hoo. He was responsible for the safety of the Wu family. He couldn't escape the blame now that such a thing happened. It's over, he's dead meat. The patriarch and the elders won't let him go. Third butler, tell me, did anyone suspicious enter and leave the Wu family today? Second elder raised his eyes slightly and asked lightly. Reporting to second elder, we didn't find anyone suspicious, the third butler quickly replied. Really? Not even a stranger? Huh? Second elder narrowed his eyes in disbelief. Ah. A few people came to the Wu family, but they were brought back by the second butler, so there's nothing suspicious, the third butler hurriedly explained. He also hoped that the stunning beauty would be rich, so he didn't even report the matter of the door shattering. How could he treat Leng Ruoxue and the others as suspicious people? However, they were really strangers. Where are those people? Second elder grabbed the third butler's collar and asked loudly. Second butler arranged for them to stay in Peony Garden, third butler reported hurriedly. Peony Garden? Who are they? Why did second butler arrange for them to stay there? Second elder said with a puzzled face. One had to know that only esteemed guests were qualified to stay in Peony Garden. Could it be that the person was from some aristocratic family? Who are those people? Wu Ming asked in surprise. He actually knew nothing about the guests at home. Humph. These people really didn't take him seriously. Yes. Second butler and I discovered a stunning beauty, so we specially brought her back to offer her to the patriarch. The patriarch and first elder had been discussing something just now, so we didn't have the time to report it, third butler hurriedly explained, and didn't forget to count his credit. You're really good subordinates. The patriarch will definitely reward you. The second elder looked at Wu Ming with a spurious smile and said mockingly. Ah. Damn it, who asked you to do such a thing? Wu Ming pretended to be angry, and his face flushed red. However, he was not angry, but shy. Head butler, I heard you say that Peony Garden is intact when I came in. At this moment, first elder, who had not spoken for a long time, asked. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. Yes, there were explosions in all the courtyards except Peony Garden, the head butler said honestly. Patriarch, that young lady is really a blessed person. Third butler hurriedly flattered when he heard this. Unfortunately, his flattery was not timely. He received several glares as soon as he finished speaking. Third butler, do you have a brain? Don't you think it's suspicious that only Peony Garden is intact? Second elder asked angrily, exasperated at his failure to live up to expectations. Alas! He had always thought that third butler was smart and sharp, but he realized today that third butler was also a pig brain. Ah! What's suspicious? That miss is lucky, the third butler asked foolishly. Alas! The second elder sighed heavily and couldn't be bothered with the third butler. Patriarch, let's go see the lucky young lady that the third butler mentioned. First elder suggested. Okay. Wu Ming nodded in agreement. However, he couldn't help thinking in his heart, if it was really the stunning beauty that the third butler mentioned, would they still be staying in Peony Garden now? They would probably have run away long ago, right? After speaking, the first elder turned and walked at the front, while Wu Ming and the other elders followed closely behind. The head butler and the third butler followed behind them step by step. When first elder and the others arrived at Peony Garden, they happened to see Leng Ruoxue and the others sitting in the yard. After seeing the stunning beauty mentioned by the three butlers, Wu Ming's eyes immediately burst out with a terrifying glow. He didn't expect the beauty they were talking about to be the Leng Ruoxue he missed so much. Ah! Since Leng Ruoxue was here, why hadn't his subordinates returned yet? He couldn't help thinking gloomily. Schwer, looks like we have a guest, the freak sitting beside Leng Ruoxue said calmly as he looked at the uninvited guest who appeared in front of them. Yes. Alas. These guests are really too rude. They actually barged in without knowing to get someone to report. What if they are bathing? Leng Ruoxue complained. Miss, this is the territory of our Wu family. You are the guests, second elder reminded her. His shrewd eyes kept looking at Leng Ruoxue and the others. Moreover, the more he looked, the more questions he had in his heart. This was because other than the few people sitting on the stone bench who were slightly stronger and were mystic monarchs, the others were actually elementary mystics. However, why could these people ignore his might? One had to know that he deliberately wanted to show them his strength when he spoke just now. So what? This might be the Wu family's territory, but it's mine and my subordinates staying here now. Therefore, even if you are the masters, you should inform them when you come in to disturb them. This is the most basic courtesy. Look at you, you're so old. Don't tell me you don't even know this. Leng Ruoxue said with a face full of disdain. Humph. Damn old man actually wanted to use the might of a mystic sovereign to intimidate them. Unfortunately, he had miscalculated. What a sharp-tongued woman. It seems like I underestimated you, the second elder said with a very calm expression. However, he had long exploded in his heart because no one had dared to speak to him like this since he became the second elder of the Wu family. Chapter 674, You are not a good dog, 4, You don't have to underestimate yourself. I know how to respect my elders, Leng Ruoxue said with a light smile. Hee, we haven't seen each other for some time, but Miss Leng is still so energetic, Wu Ming said with a smile and tried to smooth things over. Well, he couldn't let Leng Ruoxue anger the second elder. Otherwise, the second elder would kill this beauty in a fit of anger, and then his plan would all be in vain. Have we met before? Why don't I remember? Leng Ruoxue said with a face full of question marks. Humph. She really couldn't tell that this Wu Ming was still acting familiar. However, she didn't intend to give this patriarch Wu a good attitude. Miss Leng really likes to joke. We met once at the Flower Appreciation Festival. Moreover, my daughter seems to be a little unhappy with Miss Leng, Wu Ming said without anger. Leng Ruoxue didn't give him a good face, but he just happened to like Leng Ruoxue like this. Hee. Beauty wouldn't be attractive if she didn't have a little personality. Wu Qianer. So you're her father? Leng Ruoxue said in realization, as if she had just found out. Yes. Wu Ming nodded. Leng Ruoxue raised her beautiful eyes and sized up Wu Ming. Wu Ming was about 40 years old. His facial features were not very handsome, but he was tall and his strength was passable. He was a mystic sovereign, but she really didn't like Wu Ming's gaze as if he was looking at prey. Miss Leng, are you satisfied with me? Wu Ming felt Leng Ruoxue's gaze and teased. Not very satisfied. You're too old and ugly. Did you really give birth to Wu Qianer? Leng Ruoxue said honestly and asked doubtfully. Pfft. Ha. Feng De and the others ignored Wu Ming's livid face and laughed hysterically just as Leng Ruoxue finished speaking. Miss Leng is really honest. Wu Ming suppressed his anger and said through gritted teeth. Yes, yes. Of course. Only honest children have candy to eat. Leng Ruoxue said with a smile. Patriarch, do you know this young lady? The first elder, who had been looking at them coldly, spoke again. Yes, we met once in Moon-Gazing City, Wu Ming explained. Miss Leng, right? You're a guest. May I know why Miss Leng wants to blow up the other courtyards of our Wu family? First elder said expressionlessly, but his words were full of blame. Who is this old man? What evidence do you have that I blew it up? Go and ask the guards at the door. Have we ever left Peony Garden? Leng Ruoxue said calmly, neither angry nor angry. I am the Wu family's first elder. Guards. The first elder introduced himself and then shouted out of the yard. What instructions does the first elder have? A guard walked in quickly. Have you been guarding Peony Garden? First elder questioned. Yes, the guard said quickly. Did you leave? First elder asked again. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. I have never left, the guard said. First elder, did you hear that? There's always someone guarding the door. Would they not know if we leave? Therefore, don't think that we're wrong just because we're new here. We're guests, Leng Ruoxue said aggrievedly. Fengde and the others were impressed when they heard Leng Ruoxue's words. Hee, as expected of the young miss. Her ability to lie through her teeth was better than ordinary people. At this moment, they were thinking that they didn't have to leave at all if they wanted to do something. Moreover, those guards wouldn't notice even if they left. Ah! Cold sweat broke out on the first elder's forehead. He didn't know what to do. They were obviously the most suspicious person, but he had evidence of their alibi, and the person proving was actually one of their own. Alas! He was a little stuck in the middle now. Ha, Miss Leng, don't take it to heart. First elder was just joking with you. Wu Ming smiled and gave first elder a way out. Yes. The Wu family was attacked, so I have to be careful. Please don't blame me, Miss Leng, first elder said adaptably and took his exit. It's right to be careful. I won't blame first elder, Leng Ruoxue said very generously. Miss Leng, why didn't anyone inform me that you came to the Wu family? Wu Ming suddenly asked. What he implied was, where did the people I sent go? Why didn't they return with you? Didn't second butler inform you? Your Wu family's efficiency is really too poor. Leng Ruoxue pouted her pink lips slightly with dissatisfaction. Didn't I send someone to invite Miss Leng a few days ago? Why didn't they come back with Miss Leng and the others? Wu Ming had no choice but to make things clear, seeing Leng Ruoxue pretending to be stupid. I don't know. I don't see anyone. Leng Ruoxue's beautiful face was very sincere. Ah. How is this possible? Wu Ming said with a face full of disbelief. He had sent more than 50 people. He might believe it if they said they didn't see him if they only sent one person. However, they didn't see so many people. Who were they kidding? I really didn't see it. Did you see them? Leng Ruoxue turned to Fengde and the others. No, Fengde and the others answered in unison. Patriarch Wu, look, I'm not the only one who didn't see anyone. My subordinates didn't see anyone either, Leng Ruoxue said incomparably innocently, the word wronged clearly written on her beautiful little face. Patriarch Wu. I'm only Miss Subordinate. I shouldn't say this, but I still have to say. Did the people you sent fool around somewhere? Leng Fengda asked with a face full of curiosity. That's impossible. Wu Ming hurriedly denied. The people he sent were all the elites of the family. How could they ignore his orders and go out to fool around? One can never be too careful. Feng Deliang said with a whoosh, but he was already laughing in his heart. Ah! Miss Leng, Why did you come to Martial Immortal City since you didn't see the people I sent? Wu Ming asked doubtfully. Obviously, he didn't completely believe Leng Ruoxue and the others. We were passing by this place. We were going to enter the city, but the quality of your Martial Immortal City's city walls was too poor. It actually collapsed before we entered the city. The second butler suspected that we were the culprits, so he brought us to the city lord's mansion. Alas! You have a loyal good subordinate. Leng Ruoxue looked at Wu Ming with envy after explaining. Chapter 675, You Are Not a Good Dog, 5, The city wall collapsed. Wu Ming and the elders looked at each other in shock. Then anger rose in their hearts. Humph. No one reported such a big matter. Were those guards dead? Patriarch, our Wu family's door has also shattered. At this moment, the third butler, who saw that the situation was a little off, hurriedly reported. However, his voice was actually softer than a mosquito because of fear. What did you say? First elder roared with widened eyes. He said that your Wu family's door shattered. Leng Ruoxue kindly said for the third butler, who was trembling from fright. How is this possible? Wu Ming and the elders had looks of disbelief. No one knew better than them how sturdy the door of their Wu family was. Moreover, the city walls would not be destroyed with a single touch. What's impossible? I heard your Wu family's city walls and doors are old. Alas! This kind of situation will happen after years of neglect, Leng Ruoxue said nonchalantly. That's impossible. The walls and doors of our Wu family might not be destroyed even if the mystic supremacy comes, the first elder roared. Say, old man. Aren't you a little too confident? That paper-thin city wall and door of your house will break even if I poke it gently, let alone a mystic supremacy, Fengde said mockingly with a face full of contempt. Paper-thin? Ignorant thing. That door is made of mystic wood, and the city walls are also made of granite. It's very sturdy. The first elder stomped his feet in anger from Fengde's words and roared at the top of his lungs without caring about his image. Mystic wood? I've never heard of it, Fengde said lightly. First elder, calm down. No matter how sturdy the mystic wood is, it's only a rotten piece of wood. Therefore, I suggest you build an iron door with the Millennium Meteoric Iron to guarantee its sturdiness. Not even granite. You have to use obsidian. The bugs can't bite it, Leng Ruoxue suggested kindly. However, her suggestion angered the Wu family because the two things she mentioned were very precious refining materials. They were expensive, and even the three major families couldn't afford to build such a door and city wall. The first elder was so angry that he couldn't say anything after hearing Leng Ruoxue's words. Only his chest kept heaving violently, which showed how angry he was. Where did second butler go? After a while, the first elder, who had calmed down slightly, roared out of the yard. Alas! He couldn't do anything to these people, so he remembered the second butler who brought them here. First elder, I'm here. The second butler, who was hiding in a corner outside the yard and eavesdropping, ran in fearfully. Where did you go? Did you bring these people here? The first elder raised his leg fiercely and kicked the second butler, venting all his anger on the unlucky second butler. It's me. The second butler was kicked down by the first elder and fell to the ground. A trace of red blood flowed out of the corner of his mouth, which showed how ruthless the first elder's kick was. Why did you bring them back? First elder roared. In fact, what he wanted to say was, did you bring them back to anger me? I suspect that the incident on the city wall has something to do with them, so I brought them back and asked the patriarch to decide, the second butler said carefully, feeling nervous. Nonsense. If they are really suspicious, you should lock them up in prison, not Peony Garden, first elder roared directly. So this isn't a cell. I knew it. How can the Wu family's cell be so good? Leng Ruoxue said with a face full of regret. Patriarch. The second butler looked at Wu Ming pitifully. Boo-hoo. He did it for the patriarch. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel. Thanks. First elder, calm down. How could Wu Ming not understand the second butler's meaning? He hurriedly advised and pulled the first elder to a corner to whisper to him. After a long while, they returned after muttering. Miss Leng, since you've come to the city lord's mansion, we can be considered to be fated. Stay here for the time being. As for your suspicion, he'll give you an explanation after Patriarch and I investigate the matter, First Elder said with a serious expression. Give me an explanation. Alright, since the First Elder said so, I'll stay here for a day. Leng Ruoxue said very reluctantly. One day. The First Elder frowned. How was one day enough? According to the Patriarch's plan, this woman was very useful, so he naturally had to cooperate with the Patriarch. Miss Leng, I'm afraid we won't be able to find anything in a day. First Elder said awkwardly. Is your Wu family so inefficient? Leng Ruoxue asked in realization. First Elder was depressed. He just wanted to keep Leng Ruoxue, so he found a random excuse. This matter is more complicated, First Elder said after taking a deep breath. He finally realized that he couldn't say too much to this little girl, or he would definitely be angered to death by her. What's so complicated about it? Didn't the wall collapse and the door shatter? Leng Ruoxue said nonchalantly, despising this old fox's words in her heart. Ah. That's not what I think. We still have to find witnesses. Miss Leng needs witnesses too. First Elder said matter-of-factly. After speaking politely to Leng Ruoxue and the others, he left Peony Garden with a large group of people. After Wu Ming, the First Elder, and the others left, Empty looked at Leng Ruoxue and said with a light smile, Shuer, looks like they have an agreement. Okay. Leng Ruoxue nodded. It seemed like the Wu family was really one and the same. None of them were good. Miss, what should we do now? When should we take action? Fengde said impatiently. Hee, it was just a small test just now. He wanted to kill the big fish now. Go take a look around the yard. Leng Ruoxue said after some thought. Then she summoned Rise and ordered her to cast an invisibility spell on them. After that, Fengde and the others left Peony Garden invisible. Fengde and the others walked around the yard, looking around. There was a fire here and an explosive ball there. It was as if they were strolling in their own backyard. It was so enjoyable. Chapter 676, The Angered Mystic Supremacy, 1. After Wu Ming left Peony Garden, he immediately brought the First Elder and Second Elder to a relatively intact room and explained the Wu family's current situation and his plans in detail. However, an explosion sounded again while they were discussing something. What happened? The First Elder immediately stood up in shock and ordered someone to check. Soon, the people who went to investigate returned. Reporting to the Patriarch and the two elders, another explosion occurred in a place and caused a fire, the guard said gloomily. You didn't find anyone again? First Elder asked in disbelief. There's no one at all, the guard said. This was also what made them depressed. After all, the Wu family's defense was so tight that even a mosquito couldn't fly in. However, they didn't see who was causing trouble in the Wu family. Alas! Did anyone come out of Peony Garden? Second Elder asked. He still felt that the person inside was the most suspicious. No one came out. Someone has been guarding the door, the guard said with certainty. Patriarch, if this continues, we won't even have a place to sleep at night, First Elder reminded. First Elder, of course I know that. But we can't find any enemies at all. Wu Ming also had a depressed face. There were really not many people who dared to cause trouble in the City Lord's mansion in Martial Immortal City. Patriarch, bad news. Miss went to Peony Garden. Suddenly, the second butler came to report anxiously. What did you say? Does Qianer know where Leng Ruoxue lives? Wu Ming said furiously. Qianer hated Leng Ruoxue to the core, so he had already ordered the second butler and the others not to let Qianer know about this. Patriarch misheard that the peony garden wasn't destroyed, so she wanted to move there. I couldn't stop her, the second butler said aggrievedly. Boo-hoo. It was very difficult being a subordinate. Didn't you tell her that someone lives there? Wu Ming said angrily. He knew his daughter's temper very well if Qianer knew who lived there. I told you, Miss didn't listen and even wanted to chase that person away, the second butler said honestly, a little resentful of his Miss willfulness. First elder, second elder, I have to take a look. Qianer and Miss Leng were once unhappy, Wu Ming said helplessly. Alas. At this juncture, he couldn't count on Qianer anymore, so he had to coax Leng Ruoxue. Go. The two elders nodded. Okay. Wu Ming strode to Peony Garden. In Peony Garden, Wu Qianer was standing with her hands on her hips, shouting at Leng Ruoxue and the others like a shrew, damn it, get out of the Wu family. The Wu family doesn't welcome you. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. Scram. I don't know how to scram. Why don't Miss Wu give me a demonstration? Leng Ruoxue covered her nose and smiled gently. You, Wu Qianer pointed at Leng Ruoxue, a little angry. A white light flashed and Leng Ruoxue said lightly, I hate it when others point at me. Ah! Wu Qianer screamed in pain. A finger fell to the ground, and one of her hands was already dripping with blood. Qianer. Wu Ming happened to hear Wu Qianer's scream when he arrived at Peony Garden and hurriedly ran over. Father. My finger. You have to avenge me. Wu Qianer fainted from the pain after speaking. Send Miss back to her room. Wu Ming turned to the second butler who followed him and ordered. Yes, the second butler answered and then reluctantly left with Wu Qianer. Miss Leng, Qianer is young and insensible. There's no need to be so heavy-handed. Wu Ming said with slight displeasure. Qianer was the daughter he doted on for so long after all. He was unwilling to let others bully his daughter even though she was crippled now. Heavy-handed? Just one finger of hers is already considered light compared to her rudeness to me. If Patriarch Wu came a moment later, I'm afraid Wu Qianer's life would not be preserved. Leng Ruoxue said with a light smile. Humph. She had never been a soft-hearted person. He had pointed at her nose and scolded her. Wouldn't she be a joke if she didn't react at all? She's just young and insensible. She didn't deliberately offend Miss Leng. Wu Ming braced himself. Patriarch Wu, wouldn't the world be in chaos if everyone used age as an excuse and didn't have to bear the responsibility? Moreover, I don't think I'm as old as your daughter. Leng Ruoxue reminded. Ah. Wu Ming had a headache after hearing Leng Ruoxue's words because he now realized that Leng Ruoxue was really too difficult to deal with. Patriarch Wu, don't blame me for being ruthless if you can't take care of your daughter, Leng Ruoxue said provocatively. Don't worry, Miss Leng. I'll send someone to watch her. Wu Ming suppressed his anger and left Peony Garden angrily after speaking. Swear, are we letting Wu Qianer go just like that? Empty asked curiously after Wu Ming left. How is that possible? Leng Ruoxue rolled her eyes. Empty knew why they came to the Wu family. How could they let the Wu family go? But Wu Qianer should be afraid already. I don't think she will take the initiative to come knocking on our door, Empty said with a smile. Shall we make a bet? Leng Ruoxue smiled mysteriously. Bet on what? Empty was interested. Don't you think Wu Qianer won't fall into the trap again? I'll bet that she will come. How about it? Leng Ruoxue suggested with a smile. What's the stakes? Empty asked excitedly. 10,000 purple coins. Leng Ruoxue said after some thought. Hee hee, she wouldn't bet too much against her own people. Okay. Empty nodded. He could afford 10,000 purple coins. Boo-hoo. He could not afford more. Miss, can we bet too? Fengde asked with a salivating face. Do you have money? Leng Ruoxue raised her eyebrows and asked with a smile. Ah. We don't have any. Boo-hoo, Fengde was depressed. Their money was given by Mississippi. Moreover, it seemed like it was not even 10,000 in total. Chapter 677, The Angered Mystic Supremacy, 2, Then what are you betting on? Hurry up and cook. Let's rest after dinner so that the fish can take the bait, Leng Ruoxue said with a slightly smug smile. Ah. Miss, it's only noon. Fengde reminded speechlessly. They had stayed in the tent for almost a day yesterday, so should they return to their rooms early to sleep today? What about noon? Can't I take an afternoon nap and a night nap together? Leng Ruoxue asked aggrievedly. Okay, okay. Fengde said hurriedly. Alas. Who would dare to not let Miss sleep? Then quickly go and cook. I'm a little hungry, Leng Ruoxue ordered. Yes. Fengde answered. Then he led Lin Yuan and the others to prepare food. Leng Ruoxue and the others found their own rooms to rest after lunch. Late at night was the time when the moon was dark and the wind was strong, suitable for investigation. A black shadow quietly sneaked into the peony garden where Leng Ruoxue and the others were staying. After sneaking into the pitch-black main room and coming to the bed, the black shadow took out an incomparably sharp, cold, and intimidating saber from its ring, and gathered a trace of mystic energy to directly stab at the person on the bed, and stabbed several times with hatred. The man in black stopped in surprise when the room lit up. When he turned back, he saw everyone standing behind him and looked at the bed in disbelief. Miss Wu must be exhausted. Leng Ruoxue said with concern. No. This is impossible. Weren't you sleeping on the bed? Wu Qian'er widened her eyes and questioned. She had sent her trusted aide to investigate thoroughly, but Leng Ruoxue appeared behind her now. How could she accept this? It's just a pillow sleeping on the bed, Leng Ruoxue reminded. What? Wu Qian'er didn't believe it. She hurriedly lifted the blanket and saw that a pillow had indeed been pierced by her. Now you believe me. Leng Ruoxue sighed softly and said sympathetically. How did you know I would come? No matter how stupid Wu Qian'er was, she knew that she had been discovered long ago. However, she was really unwilling. Her father refused to take revenge for her and said that Leng Ruoxue was useful. However, she didn't believe it at all. Humph. Don't think she didn't know that her father obviously took a liking to her beauty and wanted to take it for himself. He even lied to her. We smelled your smell before we entered Peony Garden, Fengde reminded with a naughty smile. Alas. You have to cover your smell even if you want to do something bad. What smell? I don't have any smell. Wu Qian'er immediately exploded when she heard Fengde. Of course it's stink. It stinks for hundreds of miles. Of course, you usually can't smell it yourself. Fengde explained. No, I don't stink. Damn it, I don't stink. Wu Qian'er roared irrationally. She raised the saber in her hand crazily and stabbed at Leng Ruoxue fiercely. She wanted to kill this woman. Swish! A white light passed through Wu Qian'er's body. With a bang, Wu Qian'er fell to the ground. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. Leng Ruoxue looked at the dagger stabbed into the wall, then at everyone and whispered, I'm just defending myself. Yes. Self-defense. Everyone hurriedly echoed. However, the freak pouted with dissatisfaction and looked at Leng Ruoxue with slight complaint. Swear, you don't need to defend yourself. I'll protect you. He originally wanted to attack, but Shuer didn't give him the chance. Boo-hoo. Ah. I was wrong. That was just my instinct, Ling Ruoxue said aggrievedly. Miss, your dagger. At this moment, Lin Yuan had already pulled out the knife from the wall and returned it to Ling Ruoxue. Thank you. Ling Ruoxue released a trace of water mystic energy from her fingertips, washed the dagger, and then stored it in her storage ring. Miss, what should we do with Wu Qianer? Feng De asked. Wu Qianer should be dead. However, he didn't know if Miss wanted to destroy the corpse or hand it to Wu Ming. To Wu Ming, of course. Ask the guards at the entrance to the yard to invite Wu Ming over. Tell him there are assassins, but they've been killed, Ling Ruoxue said with a naughty smile. Okay. Feng De replied and then happily went to inform the guards. After a while, Wu Ming, who received the report, came to Peony Garden like his but was on fire. He looked at the man in black lying on the ground, cold sweat breaking out on his body, and his heart turned cold. Alas! It was indeed Qianer. Why was his daughter disobedient? Great, she was killed now, but he was helpless. What? Does Patriarch Wu know this assassin? Ling Ruoxue sat in a chair, held a cup of tea, and took a sip. Ah. No. Wu Ming was very depressed, but he had to deny it at this time. Feng De, take off the veil on his face and let Miss see who this person is. Ling Ruoxue ordered lightly. She really didn't expect Wu Ming to be ruthless enough to disown his daughter's corpse. Alas! He was really heartless to do this. Yes, Feng De quickly answered and walked directly to Wu Qianer's side. He was about to do as his young miss said, but was stopped by Wu Ming. Wait, Miss Leng. Leave this to me. I'll give Miss Leng an explanation, Wu Ming hurriedly said. What explanation does the Wu family head want to give me? I'm a guest of the Wu family since I live here, but your Wu family actually sent people to assassinate me. Fortunately, I'm alert. Otherwise, I would be the one lying on the ground now. Ling Ruoxue's face became stern and she said very displeased. This person isn't from the Wu family, but I will give Miss Leng a satisfactory explanation. Miss Leng can be at ease. Wu Ming suppressed the anger in his heart and said. He just needed 2 more days. In that case, give me some time, Patriarch Wu. I can't wait endlessly. Ling Ruoxue raised her beautiful eyes and said coldly. I will definitely satisfy Miss Leng in 2 days, Wu Ming promised. Then he ordered someone to carry the corpse of the man in black out of Peony Garden. Chapter 678, The Angered Mystic Supremacy, 3, Miss, what is Wu Ming doing? Why do you want us to wait for 2 days? Feng De asked in puzzlement after Wu Ming left. You'll know when the time comes. Ling Ruoxue smiled evilly and kept them in suspense. Well, Wu Ming was waiting for someone, and she was also waiting for a big fish, so let the Wu family live for 2 more days for the time being. 2 days passed quickly. Ling Ruoxue and the others had been living comfortably these 2 days because no one came to disturb them. However, Wu Ming was not so comfortable. His daughter was dead, but he didn't dare to let others know. He even had to give an explanation to the enemy who killed his daughter. He was so angry that he was about to vomit blood when he thought of this. Alas! But Ling Ruoxue was useful to him. Otherwise, he would have pinned that woman down and imprisoned her for him to vent. In the garden of the main courtyard, Wu Ming was looking at the colorful flowers in front of him with a gloomy face, a little lost in thought. Patriarch, the people over there have arrived. The head butler walked to Wu Ming's side and whispered. The patriarch had been in a very bad mood these 2 days, so many servants didn't dare to approach the main mansion, and he, the head butler, couldn't avoid it. Please. Wu Ming looked up and hurriedly said. The people over there had finally arrived. There's no need to invite us. We're already here. A gloomy voice sounded from behind Wu Ming. Wu Ming turned around and saw two middle-aged men in black standing behind him. These two people might have ordinary looks, but their strength was unfathomable. They were already standing behind him, but he actually didn't realize it. One had to know that he was a mystic sovereign. Seniors, you've worked hard. Wu Ming hurriedly cupped his hands and bowed. There's no need to be so polite. Where is he? We left after picking him up, a man in black said. At Peony Garden. However, there are many people there. Moreover, I can't tell their strength, Wu Ming explained. It's okay. We don't care how many people there are, another man in black said arrogantly. Humph. They were both mystic supremacies. Even if the other party was also a mystic supremacy, there was only one, so they were not afraid. One of Leng Ruoxu's subordinates is an alchemist, so they have a good relationship with the Alchemist Association, Wu Ming reminded them, muttering in his heart. You're not afraid of the Alchemist Association, but he can't not care. What's the big deal with the Alchemist Association? You don't have to take it to heart. As long as our old ancestor is satisfied, he might destroy the Alchemist Association if he's happy, the man in black said cockily. Ah. Do you mean to bring people away now? Wu Ming asked carefully. Of course. The old ancestor is still waiting, the man in black said matter-of-factly. He had never seen the painting that Wu Ming offered, but a beauty that the old ancestor valued so much must be a stunning beauty. But as far as I know, Leng Ruoxue has a fiery character. I'm afraid she won't leave with the two seniors willingly. Wu Ming revealed his worries. Alas. He could only do so for the Wu family's future even though he was a little reluctant. It's okay. We have our ways. The two men in black looked at each other and smiled confidently. That's good. I'll bring the two seniors to Peony Garden now. Wu Ming said ingratiatingly. Hee, hugging the Sun family's thigh, their Wu family would absolutely be able to suppress the Guan Yu family in the boundless heaven continent in the future. His mood immediately improved when he thought of this. What was the pain of losing a daughter? How many children would he not have in the future with his age? Moreover, Wu Qian'er was not his only child. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. Okay. The two of them nodded and followed Wu Ming to Peony Garden. However, the two of them didn't enter directly. One of them even took out a withered branch from his ring, lit it with fire, and threw it into Peony Garden. Seniors, this is? Wu Ming asked curiously. You shouldn't know. Don't ask too much, a man in black reprimanded with slight dissatisfaction. Yes. Wu Ming immediately became well-behaved and stopped talking after being scolded. Two men in black strode into the yard after the dry branch burned up. They looked at the people lying on the ground in the yard and went straight for their target. After all, there was only one woman in the yard, which was very easy to recognize. She's indeed a rare beauty, the two men in black praised with amazement. Hee, it's good that the two seniors are satisfied, Wu Ming said with a charming smile, his face full of flattery. Bullshit, what's the use of us being satisfied? This is the woman the old ancestor likes. The two of them roared very displeased. Yes, it's good that old ancestor is satisfied. Wu Ming quickly corrected himself. Well, he didn't expect that the inconspicuous dried branch to be so useful. It was really too magical. This is the reward the old ancestor gave you. A man in black threw a storage ring over. Thank you, old ancestor. Thank you, seniors. Wu Ming took the ring and sent his divine sense in slightly. He said happily after seeing the things inside. Our Sun family will not treat you badly as long as you are loyal, the man in black said. Yes, senior. What should we do with the others? Wu Ming asked again. I'll give the others to you, a man in black said generously. They only had this woman as their target, and they were not interested in the others. With that, a man in black summoned his beast and placed Leng Ruoxue on it. The two of them left martial immortal city. In the sky, Leng Ruoxue slowly opened her beautiful eyes and looked at the man in black not far away. She said calmly, "Where is this place?" "You're awake?" a man in black said in surprise. This shouldn't be the case. How did this woman wake up so quickly? Isn't it obvious? Leng Ruoxue looked at the man in black like he was an idiot. "Stay here obediently since you're awake," another man in black said. "Humph. It's okay even if you're awake. How can a mere mystic monarch turn the situation around?" Chapter 679, The Angered Mystic Supremacy, 4, But I don't want to stay here obediently. Leng Ruoxue smiled evilly, her naughty little hands quickly pulling the feathers of the beast below her butt. "Ah! Ah!" The black eagle-type transcendent divine beast screamed in pain as its huge body shook non-stop. "Your beasts can't fly steadily enough," Leng Ruoxue said with some dissatisfaction. "Stop it." One of the men in black couldn't bear it anymore and roared. Damn it, this was his beast. He usually treasured it very much, but who knew that in just a short while, several large feathers on his beast's back had become bald. "How dare you shout at me?" Leng Ruoxue said with tears in her eyes. Her aggrieved appearance was so pitiful that it made one's heart ache. "Forget it, it's not a big deal," another man in black said nonchalantly while standing. It was not his beast anyway, so of course his heart didn't ache. Instead, he felt a little heartache for this beauty. "That's right. I like grilled chicken the most, and am especially good at plucking feathers," Leng Ruoxue said proudly. Then a small flame suddenly jumped out of her fair finger. What do you want?" a man in black asked fearfully as he felt the temperature of the flame. "Eat grilled chicken." Leng Ruoxue threw the small flame at the unlucky beast after speaking. Then she let the little peacock out and jumped lightly onto its back. "Ah! Master, save me," the poor eagle screamed in pain. The owner of the beast hurriedly released his water attribute mystic energy when he heard the cry for help, wanting to help his beast put out the fire. However, not only did his water fail to put out the fire, it even played a supporting role. Damn it! What kind of flame was this? He was a little dumbfounded, and it only took a few minutes before his beast passed away. "Damn it, you actually killed my contract beast." Two men in black floated in the air. One of them had a pained face and gritted his teeth. Boo-hoo. This beast was the highest level among his beasts, but it actually died just like that. He really couldn't take this lying down. "Calm down, she's someone the old ancestor likes," another man in black reminded. His pair of searchlight-like eyes kept looking Leng Ruoxue up and down. Ah! This woman was really unexpected. Moreover, what kind of flame was she? The temperature was so high. She actually killed a level 6 transcendent divine beast in just a few minutes. It was really too terrifying. "I know." The man in black glared at Leng Ruoxue fiercely, his face full of unwillingness and hatred. However, he knew that now was not the time to kill Leng Ruoxue. Humph. He would not let this woman go when the old ancestor didn't want her. Don't calm down. Hurry up and explode. "I'm embarrassed to attack first if you're not angry," Leng Ruoxue said aggrievedly, her beautiful eyes full of accusation. "Damn it." The owner of the beast roared uncontrollably and released the might of a mystic supremacy. He was now very sure that this woman did it on purpose. Humph. Since she dared to provoke him, let this woman compensate him for his strength. Of course, he would not kill Leng Ruoxue. Is this all a mystic supremacy can do? Leng Ruoxue continued to provoke fearlessly. Hehe, Qing Ju's defense was really good. This mystic supremacy level pressure posed no threat to her at all. "You're courting death," the beast master roared furiously and then launched an attack directly at Leng Ruoxue. "Fighting is too barbaric. I don't like fighting." Leng Ruoxue's figure moved slightly and easily dodged the attack. Then, with a thought, she moved Empty, Icy, the freak, and the little old man out of the bracelet to be her helpers. Icy jumped directly into her arms as soon as it emerged. Ha! Schwer, take a rest at the side. Leave these two to me and the little old man, Empty said happily. These were two mystic supremacies. They could exercise their bodies. Lass. I haven't exercised for a long time, the little old man said eagerly, rubbing his palms together. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Calm thanks. Alas. I shouldn't have let you out. Len Ruoshua looked at the little old man, who was also floating in the air, and said helplessly. It seemed like she had nothing to do now. Hee hee. Schwer, let's just watch the battle honestly. The freak jumped onto the little peacock's back and hugged Len Ruoshua. In the space just now, Empty and the little old man had said that these two people were theirs. They were in a hurry to snatch them, and even Icy couldn't snatch them. Yes, that's the only way. Len Ruoshua nodded slightly. At this moment, Empty and the little old man had already begun fighting with the men in black. Didn't you say that you're not afraid no matter how many people there are? There are only two of us now. 1-on-1, it's absolutely fair. The green mystic energy in Empty's hand was released as if it was free, causing the men in black fighting him to dodge left and right in a sorry state. Damn it, why was this person's strength so strong? The man in black who was not fighting couldn't help cursing, but he didn't dare to be distracted in the slightest. However, what made him vomit blood even more was that this person's mystic energy didn't seem to have been exhausted. It was really infuriating to compare oneself to others. Didn't you say you wanted to destroy the Alchemist Association? Let's see who will destroy who first. At this moment, the little old man roared very furiously. This person actually dared to have designs on the Alchemist Association. He absolutely couldn't stay. Thinking of this, he also imitated Len Ruoshua and released several fiery red mystic techniques consecutively to attack the black-clothed person. However, he couldn't release mystic techniques non-stop like Schwer. After every cast, he needed to take a pill to replenish the mystic energy he had expended. Fortunately, the girl had many herbs and he was an alchemist. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to take such a method of eating. Despicable. Too despicable. The man in black who was fighting with the little old man was so angry that he almost vomited blood when he saw the inconspicuous little old man actually eating pills while fighting with him. Damn, wasn't this bullying? Bullying him because he couldn't bear to part with the pills. Boo-hoo. He really couldn't bear to, and he didn't have so many pills. Blades flashed and smoke filled the air on the side of the little old man, while Len Ruoshua and the freak sat comfortably on the little peacock's back and watched the battle while eating fruits. Chapter 680, The Angered Mystic Supremacy, 5, Mystic Supremacy's combat strength is indeed extraordinary, Len Ruoshua praised. Hee hee. Amazing. Truly amazing. Master. Let's end this quickly. Icy nibbled at the red fruit in its hoof, raised its eyes slightly, and said impatiently. Alas. How could it take so long to deal with a mystic supremacy if Master was at his peak? Unfortunately. Master's injuries had not healed, and his current strength was only slightly better than ordinary mystic supremacies. Icy, go eat your fruit. I'm not in a hurry, so why are you in a hurry? Empty said with some displeasure. Boo-hoo. He didn't know that his strength was much weaker now, but he actually urged him. Do you need my help? Icy said helplessly. No need. Don't snatch it from me. Empty glared at Icy while releasing his mystic technique. All right then. Icy lowered its head and continued eating the fruit in its hoof. A moment later, Empty and the little old man, who had finally had a kick, looked at each other. The two of them launched their strongest attacks at the same time. At this moment, the two men in black were already so tired that they were out of breath and could only be at the mercy of others. Bang! 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 With a few loud bangs, the fiery red and green mystic energies imposing aura hit the two men in black who were unable to retaliate at the same time like a hot knife through butter. Pfft! 2 mouthfuls of blood spurted out, and the two men in black fell directly from the sky. The little old man, Empty, who had completed the mission, clapped his hands gently. Then he jumped onto the little peacock's back, grabbed a fruit, and began eating. Little peacock, let's go down and take a look at the spoils of war. We can't let others take advantage of us, Len Ruoxue said with a light smile. Yes, Mississippi. The little peacock flapped its wings gently and flew to the ground. It found the two men in black and descended beside them. Ah! Forget it. They look pretty poor, Len Ruoxue said with little interest as she looked at the two people who had fallen into a daze. She casually released a small flame to destroy the 2 pieces of meat. Little peacock, bring us to the Wu family. Len Ruoxue ordered the little peacock after she was done and moved Fengde and the others out of the bracelet. Okay, miss, the little peacock replied and flapped its wings as it flew toward the Wu family. Martial Immortal City. In the sky above the city lord's mansion, Len Ruoxue and the others stood on the little peacock's back and looked down at every move of the city lord's mansion like they were watching a show. Fengde, knock on the door. Len Ruoxue ordered with a faint smile on her beautiful face. Okay. Fengde gave Lin Yuan and the others a look. Then, everyone summoned their beasts tacitly. Man and beast, Exian, worked together to attack the Wu family's door. Boom! With a loud sound, the door that the Wu family had just used for 2 days was dead again. After hearing the sound, almost all the Wu family members moved, including Wu Ming and the elders. Len Ruoxue, why are you back? Wu Ming looked at Len Ruoxue and the others in the air and was shocked. Wasn't Len Ruoxue taken away by those 2 seniors? Moreover, her subordinates were all locked in a cell and waiting to be dealt with. Who were these people in front of him? However, what he didn't expect was why there were so many dragons. It seems like Patriarch Wu knows that I left and doesn't want me to return very much. Len Ruoxue said with slight mockery. Ah. Miss Leng and the others left without saying goodbye. I was just feeling regretful. Why wouldn't I want you to come back? Wu Ming probed. He couldn't understand now if Len Ruoxue ran back by herself or if the 2 seniors allowed her to come back. If it was the former, it meant that something had happened to the 2 of them. If it was the latter, he didn't dare to imagine. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBoxNovel. Thanks. Patriarch Wu, stop lying through your teeth. Didn't you send me away? Are you very curious now how I returned? Len Ruoxue said in realization. Ah. Please enlighten me. Wu Ming said gloomily, cold sweat flowing down his back. Do you think those 2 will let me come back? Len Ruoxue asked with a light smile. Wu Ming stammered, not knowing how to respond. Miss Leng, is there a misunderstanding? We don't understand what 2 people you're talking about, First Elder said and pretended to be stupid. Ha! The Wu family are indeed birds of the same feather. The truth is in front of us, but they still pretend to be stupid, Len Ruoxue said speechlessly. Did these people think that they wouldn't pursue the matter if they pretended to be stupid? Miss, don't waste your breath on them. Just kill them. Fengde said impatiently. Hee. What a good opportunity to practice. Kill them directly. The Wu family head won't die for no reason. Let's do something good and let the Wu family head set his mind at ease. Len Ruoxue said very kindly. You really overestimate your capabilities. Our Wu family is one of the top families after all. How can we be killed by you little shrimps just because you want to? Second Elder said very unpleasantly after hearing Len Ruoxue's words. Ha! Second elder seems to be very confident in the Wu family. Then let's see who kills who first. By the way, we've already killed the 2 mystics from the Sun family, Leng Ruoxue said with a smile. What? Wu Ming said in disbelief, his heart trembling in fear, and he almost fell to the ground. Don't be afraid. Hurry up and call your family's mystic supremacy out so that I can settle it together, Leng Ruoxue suggested, her beautiful face full of arrogance. Mystic supremacy? How could there be a mystic supremacy in their family? Boo-hoo. Wu Ming and the elders' hearts bled when they heard this. Feng De, attack. Let's end this quickly. Leng Ruoxue ordered directly after seeing no reaction from the Wu family. At the same time, she released more than half of her beasts and surrounded the entire city lord's mansion tightly. Okay. With Leng Ruoxue's order, Feng De, the others, and the beasts immediately jumped onto the ground from the little peacock's back. They casually found an opponent, and only 2 people, 1 person, and 1 beast stronger than them went up together. In an instant, cold glows emerged from the blades, and colorful mystic energy danced in the air like colorful butterflies, fighting until the sky darkened, ghosts wailed, and wolves howled. Chapter 681, Enraged Xian Zun, 6, in the blink of an eye, more than half of the Wu clan members had been killed. The members of the Wu clan who wanted to sneak away, on the other hand, were caught by Leng Ruoxue's beasts lying in wait for them. Naturally, they would die as well. After all, Leng Ruoxue was well aware of the principle of elimination lest they become hidden danger down the road. Her principle was to either not kill, or complete elimination. Leng Ruoxue, I won't let you off. Wu Ming looked at the dead clansmen and elders in front of him, his eyes bursting with hatred and bloodlust. However, in the battle with him, He wouldn't give him the chance to do so, and directly used a wind blade to finish him off. At the same time, the other elders and Wu clan members were also eliminated one by one. After the battle ended, Feng Zhan and the other beasts cleaned up the battlefield very consciously. After that, a few fire phoenixes spat out a stream of Nanlingli fire and burned the city lord's estate to ashes. Master, these are the spoils of war. A few storage rings lay in Charm's furry little paws. It handed them over to Leng Ruoxue as though she was presenting a treasure. 1. Okay. Leng Ruoxue took the ring and passed it to Qingju. She then hugged the small and cute Charm in her arms. Cute master. Baby also jumped into Leng Ruoxue's arms and found a comfortable position to lie down. One Feng Zhan, not wanting to be outdone, also took one of Leng Ruoxue's shoulders. Seeing this, Leng Ruoxue felt a headache coming on. She quickly placed the other beasts that were staring at her into her bracelet. Shuer, the martial immortal city is now ownerless. Should we send someone to take over? Wu Su suggested. Why send someone to take over? Leng Ruoxue asked in confusion. She had no intention of guarding such a lousy city. This city is also our spoils of war. If you don't send people to take over, before long, there will be other forces coming to fight for it. After all, there aren't many ownerless cities in the vast heaven continent now. Furthermore, it's such a large city. How can others not want it? Wu Qing said with a smile. Then let the Luo family send someone to take over. Leng Ruoxue said after thinking for a while. What he said made sense. There was no need to let someone else take advantage of the city she conquered. After all, the Luo family were her servants. Yes, the Luo clan is very suitable. The Luo clan's Luo city is only a day's journey away from here. Wu Tian nodded in agreement. Feng Zhan, make a trip to the Luo clan. We will wait for you outside Martial Immortal City. Leng Ruoxue glanced at Feng Zhan who was standing on her shoulder. All right, master. Feng Zhan nodded his head before gently flapping his wings and disappearing into the sky. After Feng Zhan sent the message, Leng Ruoxue and the others left Martial Immortal City under the terrified gazes of the citizens. A day later, the news of the Wu family being exterminated and martial immortal city changing owners spread throughout the entire vast heaven continent. The names of Leng Ruoxue and the others also truly began to become known by people. In an instant, Leng Ruoxue, who had always been very low-key, also entered the sights of the various major forces. According to what the witnesses said, the battle that day was obviously one-sided. Because under the super-strong firepower of Leng Ruoxue and the others, the Wu clan had almost no chance to retaliate. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. Luo City. After flying for nearly a day, Feng Zhan finally arrived in Luo City. Luo City was much smaller compared to Martial Immortal City. It was also not as prosperous. Old man, how do we get to the City Lord Manor? Feng Zhan flew straight to an elder selling items and asked politely after entering Luo City. Turn left ahead. You'll reach there after walking 2 streets. The old man raised his head and looked at the little red bird that was shining with light in front of him with slight surprise. Ah! Is this bird a legendary beast? It actually know how to ask for directions. It's really too smart, he muttered to himself. It was also fortunate that Feng Zhan didn't know how to read minds. Otherwise, she would definitely be depressed after hearing the old man's thoughts. Thank you. Feng Zhan thanked him before vanishing with a swish in front of the old man. Ugh! This little bird is so fast. The old man muttered to himself. After that, he foolishly looked in the direction where Feng Zhan had vanished and didn't come to his senses for a long time. In the City Lord residence. At this moment, the upper echelons of the City Lord residence were gathered because of a shocking piece of news. In the conference room, the ancestor of the Luo family sat on the main seat. He looked at the elders below him and remained silent for a long time. Old ancestor, is this news be accurate? The great elder of the Luo clan asked in disbelief. His slightly turbid eyes were filled with suspicion. First elder, this news is definitely accurate. This matter is no longer a secret in the vast heaven continent right now, another elder said. Ancestor, if this is true, I feel that we should have made preparations earlier. There are definitely many aristocratic families who want a share of the loot now. We shouldn't let go of this opportunity. After all, this was obtained by our master. Therefore, it's only right for us to go. We can't let others benefit from it. The great elder analyzed. He didn't want to miss this opportunity. You want to recognize this master now? The Luo clan's old ancestor, who was sitting at the head of the table, lightly raised his eyelids and said indifferently. Humph. These old foxes, when they knew that his son had acknowledged them as master, they were all frightened. They even forced him to imprison Luo Xian and his sons as punishment. However, when they heard that their cheap master was actually so powerful, they wanted to admit it again. Humph. How could there be such a beautiful thing in the world? A person who could destroy the Wu clan just like that, how could he be controlled by others? Ah! Didn't we not know that master was so formidable? The great elder said somewhat embarrassedly, his face turning red. Yeah. Old ancestor, if we can have such a valiant master, then our Luo family can also do whatever we want in the vast heaven continent in the future, an elder said with a chuckle. Don't dream too early. From what I know, this master doesn't want to acknowledge us. The old ancestor reminded them. Ah. Ancestor, then we have to perform even better. First elder hurriedly said. Reporting to old ancestor, there is a little red bird outside that wants to see patriarch. At this time, a guard came to report. What little red bird? The ancestor of the Luo clan frowned and asked in confusion. A bird actually wanted to see his son. What was going on? Ah. That little red bird said it was here to deliver a letter, the guard said honestly. Although he also found it a little unbelievable, it was the truth. Invite it in. The Luo clan's old ancestor said after pondering for a moment. Yes, the guard replied, then turned around and left. Before long, the guard returned with a small fiery bird. The Luo clan's old ancestor raised his head and carefully sized up Feng Zhan. The doubt in his heart grew heavier and heavier. Ah! What kind of beast is this? It has a phoenix crown on its head, its feathers are fiery red, and its body is burning with flames. People who first saw it would definitely think that it was a firebird, but he didn't think so. However, he didn't think too much about it. As for Feng Zhan, it was also observing the so-called patriarch of the Luo clan. This old man looked to be in his early 50s. His facial features were very handsome, and his eyes were bright and full of spirit. His strength was passable as well. He was a mystic emperor. Ah! However, where was the patriarch of the Luo clan? Why was the old ancestor of the Luo clan in charge now? He was puzzled. You're the person in charge of the Luo clan? Feng Zhan observed for a long time before speaking. I am indeed. The old ancestor of the Luo clan said. He was getting more and more curious about this little red bird. Where's Luo Xian? Feng Zhan asked curiously. He has something on now, so I will be in charge of the Luo clan for the time being. The old ancestor said. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. Oh, my master sent me to deliver a letter. Feng Zhan said calmly. May I know who is your master? The ancestor of the Luo clan asked. Len Ruoxue. Feng Zhan chuckled. The moment its words left its mouth, the Earth Emanations Pavilion Luo clan's old ancestor and all the elders in the hall stood up in unison. Is master doing well? The first elder of the Luo clan asked excitedly. Of course. Feng Zhan said. At the same time, it couldn't help but feel uneasy in its heart. Wasn't that unnecessary talk? May I know what instructions does master has for us? The old ancestor of the Luo clan asked calmly. In fact, his heart was beating like a drum. Master has ordered you to manage Martial Immortal City. Feng Zhan did not beat around the bush and said straightforwardly. Really? Master is wise. All of the elders were overjoyed. There's no need for all of you to be so happy. Master just doesn't want the fruits of her victory to be taken away by others. With your strengths, it's difficult to say if you'll be able to defend it or not. Moreover, there are still some remnants of the Wu clan that you have to annihilate. Otherwise, even if I give Martial Immortal City to all of you for free, all of you can only dream of it. Feng Zhan reminded. It wasn't that it looked down upon the Luo clan, but it was because the Luo clan's strength was far inferior to those top-rate clans. Don't worry, messenger. We will do our best and not let master down. The ancestor of the Luo family promised. That's good. By the way, my master doesn't want you, even if you want to acknowledge my master. Therefore, you will have nothing to do with my master in the future by giving the Martial Immortal City to you, Feng Zhan said, acting on its own initiative. It had used its divine sense to scan the area, only to discover that Luo Xian had been locked up. It understood after thinking about it for a moment. It was the ruler of a clan. There was no way they could hide the matters of a large clan from it. Ah! Messenger, the ancestor of the Luo family was about to explain, but Feng Zhan did not give him any chance. It rolled its eyes at everyone in the hall before flapping its wings and flying away. The elders of the Luo family were stunned for a long time before they regained their senses. Ancestor, what should we do? The first elder of the Luo clan asked with a bitter expression. Wu. He really wanted to acknowledge this master of his. It was not easy to hug a big, thick leg. We'll talk about it in the future. Let's settle the matters in Martial Immortal City first. If master sees our sincerity, she will definitely forgive us, said the Luo clan's old ancestor after thinking for a while. Yes. We must manage the martial immortal city well. By the way, ancestor, shouldn't we release the family head now? The great elder reminded carefully. Hurry up and release him. The old ancestor hurriedly said. Alas! That little bird had come too quickly. They had just received the news and had yet to react. Otherwise, if they had released Luo Xian earlier, they would not have angered that little bird. I'll go personally. The great elder said, and then left the meeting hall. Second elder, come up with a plan. We have to take over the martial immortal city as soon as possible, instructed the old ancestor of the Luo clan. It was perfectly justifiable for them to take over the martial immortal city now. Yes. All the elders replied before leaving the meeting hall. Proud cold city. At the Leng family's residence. Leng Wudi arrived at the back of the mountain with a belly full of doubts. This was the place where the seniors of the Leng clan cultivated after they were not in charge. The spiritual qi here was dense, and there was also a spirit vein underground. Hence, this place had always been regarded as a forbidden area by the Leng clan. Only the seniors of the Leng clan who were highly respected had the qualifications to cultivate here. Of course, if a talented junior like him obtained the permission of the ancestor, he could also cultivate here. However, he could only stay here for a month at most. Moreover, without the summons, no descendants of the Leng clan were allowed to enter this place. Seniors, the ancestor wants to see me. After arriving at the forbidden area, Leng Wudi respectfully bowed to the guards at the entrance and said. Although he was the young master of the Leng clan, even the weakest guard in the forbidden area was a profound emperor, so he had to treat them with respect. Young master, please enter. The ancestors are already waiting. The guard returned the greeting. Thank you, seniors. After saying that, Leng Wudi walked straight into the forbidden ground. Come in directly. Just as Leng Wudi entered the courtyard, a cold voice entered his ears. Upon hearing that voice, he immediately pushed the door open and entered. Greetings to the three elders. Upon entering the room, Leng Wudi saw three men sitting cross-legged on the ground. After bowing, he obediently stood in front of the three of them. He was a little nervous, but he was even more puzzled because he really couldn't figure out why these three elders, who hadn't shown themselves for a long time, wanted to see him. One had to know that these three people hadn't summoned anyone for at least 100 years. As expected of the most outstanding descendant of our Leng clan. He's still so calm even after seeing us. A young man in his 30s praised with a smile. Ancestor, you flatter me, Leng Wudi said a little embarrassedly. Only he knew that his calmness was all an act. In fact, he was so nervous that his palms were sweating. After all, it was every member of the Leng clan's wish to be summoned by the ancestor, and it was also his first time meeting the three legendary ancestors. Wudi, are you curious as to why we summoned you? The slightly older handsome man among the three asked kindly. Leng Wudi was a descendant of his lineage, and he was quite satisfied with Leng Wudi's performance. Yes, Leng Wudi said honestly. He didn't dare to hide anything in front of the three elders. You know Leng Ruoxue, right? The cold man who hadn't spoken the entire time asked. Ah. We've met a few times before. Leng Wudi said carefully, but he couldn't figure it out. Could it be that the old ancestor wanted to see him because of Leng Ruoxue? But, how did the old ancestor know about Leng Ruoxue? He couldn't understand. Does Leng Ruoxue come from the Lingfeng continent? The grim man asked somewhat anxiously. Old ancestor, I'm not sure either. Leng Wudi composed himself and replied carefully. Second brother, I told you that Wudi would definitely not know, the young man said knowingly. Forget it, Wudi, go and invite Leng Ruoxue over. I have something to ask her. The cold man thought for a while and said. Sigh. He knew he was a little anxious. Yes, Leng Wudi hurriedly replied. Even though he did not know where Leng Ruoxue was now, since it was the old ancestor who wanted to meet, then he had to find Leng Ruoxue even if he had to overturn the entire vast heaven continent. Wudi, take your leave. Don't mention this to anyone, the older man instructed. Yes, 3 ancestors. Wudi will take his leave. Leng Wudi bowed and left the room. At the same time, Feng Zhan also found Leng Ruoxue and the others who were waiting for him outside Martial Immortal City. Master. Feng Zhan happily threw himself into Leng Ruoxue's embrace and affectionately rubbed against her. Afterwards, he took over Leng Ruoxue's shoulders. Feng Zhan, you've worked hard. Leng Ruoxue gently stroked Feng Zhan's feathers and said with concern. Hehe, it's not hard. Master, I have something to report to you. Feng Zhan looked at Leng Ruoxue timidly and said softly. What is it? Leng Ruoxue asked curiously. Ah. Why is Feng Zhan's expression so serious? Master, it's like this, Feng Zhan went on, adding oil to the fire and telling Leng Ruoxue everything he knew about the Luo family. After that, he stared at his master with his red crystal-like eyes, feeling uneasy. Oh, that's it. Leng Ruoxue said disapprovingly. Actually, she had already expected something like this to happen. If it were her, she probably wouldn't be willing either, so she could understand. Master, aren't you angry? Feng Zhan couldn't help but ask. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBoxNovel. Thanks. What's there to be angry about? Just like you said, I don't want them either. Leng Ruoxue laughed lightly. She wouldn't do something like sticking her hot face on someone's cold butt. Hee. Master, those people will definitely rely on you. Feng Zhan said with great certainty. Ignore them, let's go. Leng Ruoxue said to everyone. Yes. Everyone nodded and continued on their way. Half a month later, Leng Ruoxue and the others arrived at the foot of a mountain. Miss, why is it so hot here? Peach wiped the sweat off her forehead and complained. I don't know. Leng Ruoxue raised her head to look at the sky. It was already evening, logically speaking, the temperature shouldn't be so high. Hee, this should be the fiery mountain. Wu Qing smiled and said. In the past half a month, they had entered whenever they saw a mountain. He wondered if Shuer would choose to enter this mountain that was like a furnace. He was very curious. This mountain is called the Fiery Mountain. 2 drops of cold sweat dripped down Leng Ruoxue's forehead as she said somewhat speechlessly. Hearing this name, she actually recalled a name from her previous life. There was a place called the Fiery Mountain. That's right. Girl, there are quite a few fire attribute medicinal herbs in this mountain. Let's go in and pick some. The little old man suggested excitedly. No. It's too hot here. Feng De pleaded with a dejected face. He would rather enter the snowy mountain than the flaming mountain. Young Feng De, there are many good things in this mountain, the little old man enticed. If he hadn't come with Shuer and the rest, to be honest, he didn't really want to go in. After all, the temperature inside wasn't something an ordinary person could withstand. Really? There was a look of disbelief on Feng Da's face. Boo-hoo. Could this old man have said that on purpose to deceive him? Of course it's true. Lass, shall we go in? The little old man asked with anticipation. Let's go in and take a look. If you find it too hot, then enter the space. Leng Ruoxue said after some thought. Miss, I want to enter the space, said Peach quickly. She could not stand the heat. It was already so hot at the foot of the mountain. The temperature inside must be even higher. Who else wants to go in? Leng Ruoxue looked at everyone and continued to ask. Everyone looked at each other. No one dared to ask this question. In the end, only Peach wanted to go in. Peach saw that no one else wanted to enter the space except her and felt a little embarrassed. In the end, no one went in. let's go into the mountain. Len Ruoxue smiled. Following Len Ruoxue's order, the crowd walked into the fiery mountain with large strides. Just as they had expected, the temperature inside the fiery mountain was much higher than outside. However, it was indeed as the little old man had said. There were many herbs in the mountain. This was simply a paradise for fire attribute herbs and beasts. This place is not bad, I like it. Feng Zhan, who was standing on Len Ruoxue's shoulder, happily said. Hehe, this place is really suitable for the cultivation of fire attribute beast. Even the spiritual aura in the air contained only fire attribute. However, Feng Zhan's words attracted the collective disdain of Feng De and the others. It was because they were so hot that they were almost sticking out their tongues like dogs. They had already taken off all the clothes they could take off, but there was actually a beast making sarcastic remarks. It was really infuriating. Hee. Feng Zhan laughed foolishly. It also knew that its words had already aroused the wrath of the crowd. Boo-hoo, he didn't do it on purpose. Wait, gather all the herbs here and walk inside. As they walked, Len Ruoxue discovered a large amount of herbs, so she stopped and ordered. Yes. Feng De and the others replied. They then bent down and prepared to collect the herbs on the ground. This is for you. Charm, which had been lying in Len Ruoxue's embrace, suddenly spoke. After speaking, it used its ice-type technique to freeze quite a bit of ice and gave it to Feng De and the others. When Feng De and the others saw this, they immediately beamed with joy. Then, one after another, they started flattering Charm. Hee. Charm, you're amazing. Charm. You're the best. Everyone said excitedly. With the Charm's ice, they would feel much better in the fiery mountain. Thinking of this, their confidence was immediately boosted. Then, they squatted on the ground and started gathering herbs. An hour later, after everyone's hard work, the herbs on the ground were finally gathered. Len Ruoxue and the others continued to walk into the mountain. Everyone paid attention to their surroundings as they walked. At the same time, they kept all the herbs that they passed by without wasting any. They even caught a lot of little beasts for dinner along the way. Swear, let's camp here tonight. When they arrived at a relatively spacious open space, the monster reminded. Okay. Len Ruoxue looked around and nodded. When Feng De and the others heard that, they immediately split up the work. Some set up tents, some started a fire, and some started food. There was order even though everyone was busy. Miss, the river water over there is hot. Lu Tao and Cui Zhu, who were in charge of preparing the vegetables, each held a blue seed in their hands as they said gloomily. They knew that there was a small river not far from here. Coincidentally, they had dug up quite a lot of wild vegetables and mushrooms along the way. They wanted to wash the vegetables there, but when they arrived, they realized that the river water was very hot. They casually threw a vegetable leaf into the river, and in the blink of an eye, it was cooked. After seeing this situation, how could they still dare to wash the vegetables there? Hot. I'll go take a look. Len Ruoxue frowned slightly before pulling the demon to the nearby river. When they reached the river, Len Ruoxue was pleasantly surprised. This was actually a natural hot spring. In short, the river wasn't very big. The surface of the river was filled with steam, and bubbles were popping up from time to time. When she saw this, she reached her hand down slightly. Oh, although it was a little hot, it was still bearable. Shuer, be careful, it's hot. The freak quickly reminded when he saw Shuer reaching her hand into the water. The temperature of the water looked very high. It's fine, demon, this is a natural hot spring. Len Ruoxue said happily. She never thought there would be a hot spring here. Yes. It's just right to use it to cook eggs. The freak thought for a while and said. This temperature should be able to cook the eggs. You glutton. Leng Ruoxue was speechless. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. Is there anything nice to eat? Suddenly, Empty's voice came from behind them. Another glutton. Leng Ruoxue muttered to herself helplessly. I'm not a foodie, what are you guys talking about? Empty protested before looking at Leng Ruoxue curiously. I found a hot spring. The demon wanted to use it to cook eggs. Leng Ruoxue sighed and said weakly. Yes, it's good to cook eggs. It's very suitable here, Empty agreed. Swear, this hot spring is a rare item. It's very rare in the vast heaven continent, Empty continued. Yes, there doesn't seem to be any in Ling Feng continent. Leng Ruoxue nodded and said. Miss, dinner is ready. Feng De walked over and said just as Leng Ruoxue and the other two were chatting by the hot spring. Oh, Leng Ruoxue replied, then the four of them returned to the encampment. After dinner, Leng Ruoxue was still thinking about the hot spring. However, Feng De and the others weren't very interested, so after everyone fell asleep, she asked the devil to accompany her to the hot spring. Swear, are you sure you want me to soak in the hot spring with you? The freak asked uncertainly when they reached the edge of the hot spring. His beautiful face was slightly flushed, and his heart started to beat faster. Yes. Leng Ruoxue nodded. Aren't you afraid? The freak asked nervously, his heart pounding. What are you afraid of? Leng Ruoxue asked in confusion. She was also puzzled. What's wrong with this freak? Why is he so shy? What if I lose control and want to eat you? The freak stopped mid-sentence, too embarrassed to continue. His face was burning as if it was about to catch fire. Eat me? Maybe I would be the one who wouldn't be able to control myself and eat you instead. Leng Ruoxue teased. Hee, the freak's current appearance made her want to bully him. He was too cute. Oh, you're welcome to try me. I've been waiting for a long time. The freak smiled charmingly. His starry eyes were sparkling as he said with anticipation. Ha, quickly take off your clothes. Leng Ruoxue urged. After speaking, she took off her clothes. Meanwhile, the freak kept his head down, not daring to look at her. Oh. The freak lowered his head and used his trembling hands to undo the buttons on his body. Wah, he was so nervous. Even though he slept with Shuer every day, they were still very pure and had yet to see each other's naked bodies. Freak, you're so slow. You don't have to take off all your clothes. Leng Ruoxue reminded with a wicked smile. Sigh. She was already sitting in the hot spring, but the devil was still slowly unbuttoning his shirt. She really didn't know why he was so embarrassed. Sooner or later, it would be her. Oh. The freak's face turned even redder upon hearing Shuer's words. In fact, if Shuer hadn't reminded him, he might have stripped naked. After a while, the freak finally took off his shorts. Then, he slowly walked into the hot spring with a red face. Chapter 685, The Fire Fox Couple, 1, Shuer, The freak sat down beside Leng Ruoxue shyly. He was so nervous that he started stuttering. Oh, your figure is not bad. Leng Ruoxue raised her beautiful eyes and openly admired the benefits that belonged to her. A firm chest, flat stomach, long and strong legs, coupled with his beautiful and shy face, it was too tempting. Leng Ruoxue knew that she wasn't a woman that could be easily seduced by beauty. However, the devil's looks and figure were enough to attract her. Sigh. How could this man be so good-looking? Wasn't he obviously trying to make her commit a crime? She couldn't help but complain in her heart as her naughty hands uncontrollably caressed the freak's body. Shuer. The freak's heart trembled, and he narrowed his eyes, not daring to look at Shuer. Boo-hoo. Shuer was so alluring. She was only wearing clothes he had never seen before, the thinness of the cloth could not hide anything. So, Schwerer's sexy and perfect figure could be seen at a glance in front of him. Moreover, even though the two of them were not hugging each other, they could feel the heat from each other's bodies. He did not know if it was because of the hot spring or because of their bodies, but it was very hot. Freak, you have a nosebleed. Len Ruoshua looked at the two streams of blood flowing out of the freak's nose and quickly reminded him. Oh. Is that so? The freak wiped his hands. As expected, his hands were stained with blood. He used the hot spring water to wash them without thinking. Let me help you. Len Ruoshua said with some heartache. Then, she used her small hands to clean the blood under the freak's nose. Schwer, it's all your fault, boo-hoo, the freak complained as he looked at Schwer with tears in his bright eyes. His peerless face was full of grievance. What does that have to do with me? Len Ruoshua asked innocently. If you didn't wear so little, would I have a nosebleed if you didn't touch me? Boo-hoo, the demon felt that he had embarrassed himself in front of Schwer again. How embarrassing. Ha! Who asked you to be so attractive? Thinking of this, Len Ruoshua felt a little wronged. Sob, she wasn't a pervert at all. However, she had always wanted to take advantage of the freak, so it was all his fault. Schwer, let me kiss you. The freak lowered his head and asked shyly. If you want to kiss me, then kiss me. It's not like I haven't kissed you before, why ask? Len Ruoshua said generously and looked at the freak with a smile. Then I want stand on ceremony, the freak said. Then, he stretched out his long arms and hugged Schwer. He lowered his head slightly and his hot lips covered Schwer's. Ugh! Freak, let me catch my breath. Their tongues intertwined as they chased each other passionately. The long kiss almost suffocated Len Ruoshua. Let me give you some air, the freak said. Then, he deepened the kiss. They did not know how long the kiss lasted before they reluctantly left each other's lips. However, the two of them were still hugging each other tightly, and the heat in their bodies continued to rise. Freak, Len Ruoshua felt the change in the freak's body and was extremely shy. Coupled with the heat from the hot spring, her beautiful little face was flushed red and looked even more alluring. Schwer, the freak called out softly. Then, he could not help but bite Schwer's soft face. Oh, it tasted so good. Freak, why did you bite me? Len Ruoshua pouted and pretended to be unhappy. Hee, my Schwer is too tempting. I really want to eat her in one bite. The demon said with a face full of desire. After saying that, he took another bite of Schwer's tender little face. My freak is also very attractive, I want to eat you too. Len Ruoshua smiled evilly, her naughty little hands caressing the freak's body. Hee, it felt good to touch, his muscles were firm, his skin was tight and elastic, the 8 pieces of tofu on his abdomen were even more distinct. Schwer, if you continue to touch me, you'll have to bear the consequences. The freak panted rapidly, his chest heaving up and down as he warned her. He really wanted to eat Schwer right now but desired a title even more. Boo-hoo. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. Sorry, I accidentally touched too much. Len Ruoshua was extremely embarrassed. Her beautiful face turned even redder, but she was more nervous. Schwer, when are you going to give me a title? The freak took a deep breath before asking with a face full of desire. Ha! I'm not telling you, Len Ruoshua laughed evilly. Actually, she had already thought about it, but she was not going to say it out loud. Schwer, you're bullying me. The freak was so anxious that he was about to cry. His tears were even welling up in his bright eyes. Oh, looks like he had to use his trump card. Don't cry. I'll tell you, okay? Len Ruoshua raised the white flag in surrender. Even though she knew the freak was most likely faking it, she still fell for it. Her heart would ache every time she saw the freak staring at her with tears in his eyes. Boo-hoo, Could it be that this freak was going to eat her up for the rest of her life? She couldn't help but feel a little depressed thinking of this. However, she felt even more happier. She was very grateful to have met a freak in this strange world and had so many family members who loved her. She felt that she was really a very lucky person. Then tell me quickly. The freak was very anxious. Boo-hoo. Shuer was finally willing to give him a title. He felt as if he had waited for her for a lifetime. Leng Ruoxue pulled the freak's head down and whispered a few words into his ear. The freak revealed a beautiful smile and stood there in a daze. Shuer, you're not allowed to lie to me. After a while, the freak regained his senses and warned her. Yes, yes. Leng Ruoxue nodded. She had always been trustworthy, how could the freak not believe her words? Shuer. The freak hugged Leng Ruoxue. The two of them continued to hug each other tightly. They did not speak for a long time. However, it was also because of this that silence was better than words. The two of them were filled with excitement. Even though it was hard to control their body's instinctive needs, they did not want their first time to be too careless. Therefore, the two of them controlled themselves well. Chapter 686, The Fire Fox Couple, 2, After a Long Time. Shuer, let's go back and sleep. The freak released the soft body in his arms and said with a face full of reluctance. Yes. Leng Ruoxue nodded in agreement. Shuer, go and put on your clothes first. The freak lowered his head and said. He did not dare to look at Shuer anymore. The fire on his body had been extinguished with great difficulty. He did not want to waste all his efforts. Ha! All right. Leng Ruoxue smiled and left the warmth of the freak's embrace. Then, she walked out of the hot spring and put on her clothes. She then said to the freak, I'm done. The freak nodded and strode to the shore. However, when he picked up his clothes and put them on, he felt someone's eyes staring at him. Boo-hoo, he was being taken advantage of again. Ha! Leng Ruoxue looked at the depressed expression on the freak's face and laughed happily. Hee hee. The freak was really too cute. It seemed the benefits that came first were not bad. She could even admire the beautiful man changing. She would not be as shy as the freak, she would definitely watch it openly. Shuer, you're too evil, the demon said, wanting to cry but having no tears. Sigh. Forget it, he had accepted his fate. He was going to be Shuer's person sooner or later anyway. If Shuer wanted to see him, she could see him as much as she wanted. Hee hee. Leng Ruoxue mischievously moved in front of the freak and quickly kissed his alluring red lips before running away. Shuer, why are you running? The freak said with some dissatisfaction. Boo-hoo. This was too much. He ran away after taking advantage of her. Of course you have to run after taking advantage of me. Otherwise, you will take revenge. Leng Ruoxue said with understanding. Then, she stood a meter away and looked at the freak proudly. I won't take revenge. Come over quickly. The freak had already put on his clothes and coaxed her helplessly. Sigh. I didn't expect Shuer to be so naughty. She's so cute. Oh, you said it yourself. After Leng Ruoxue finished speaking, she slowly and carefully walked over. Yes, I won't take revenge, but I will hit your little butt. The freak stretched out his long arm and pulled Shuer into his embrace. His large hand patted Shuer's perky butt a few times as he said proudly. Freak, how could you hit someone's butt? Leng Ruoxue's face was red with embarrassment. Her beautiful eyes glared fiercely at the demon as she said, sob. She had lived for 2 lifetimes, but she had never been spanked like this before. I want to take advantage too, the freak said matter-of-factly. Then, he picked Shuer up by the waist and strode towards the camp. After returning to the camp, the freak lowered his footsteps and entered the tent without alerting anyone. Then, he carried Schwer and lay down on the mat. The two of them slept together. The next day. By the time Leng Ruoxue and the freak left the tent, everyone was already up and busy with breakfast. After breakfast, everyone continued on their way. The group chatted and laughed along the way. Those who did not know would definitely think that they were here to play. In fact, they were here to train. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. Schwer, there's a sound over there. Let's go and take a look. Empty suddenly pointed to their left. Leng Ruoxue nodded. Then, the crowd walked towards the left. After walking for about half an hour, they arrived at their destination. The sound came from there. Miss, are these fire foxes? Lu Tao looked at the three beautiful fire foxes and asked in surprise. It's a fire fox. Leng Ruoxue nodded her head. Not far away from them, there were three fire red foxes. Two of them were as big as a small mountain and were lying weakly on the ground. Their fiery red fur was stained with blood, and their originally soft and smooth fur was almost all tangled together. The other small one was tightly held in the arms of a big fox. That small fox was not even the size of a palm, and its eyes had not even opened completely. At this moment, it was crying out with a sobbing sound from its mouth, and it was crying non-stop. Leng Ruoxue looked at the three foxes not far away and understood in her heart that this should be a family of three. The little fox had just been born not more than 2 days ago, but its parents were seriously injured. Although they were unable to take care of the little fox, they still protected it tightly in their arms. Seeing this, she couldn't help but sigh at the greatness of the love of parents. Even if she was injured, she still had to protect her child. Perhaps sensing the approach of a stranger, the little fox warily pricked up its furry little ears and turned its head left and right as though it was looking for the source of danger. At this moment, the two huge foxes also felt the presence of a stranger. They forced their weak bodies to stand up from the ground and let out low growls from time to time, as if warning them not to approach. Leng Ruoxue looked at the two foxes with fierce eyes, bared their teeth and growled while releasing the pressure of a transcendent divine beasts. However, their four limbs were trembling non-stop and she was speechless. She knew that these two foxes were not weak and were both level 5 transcendent divine beasts. However, with their unstable posture, could they scare them? Little fox, your injuries are so serious, you are not our match. Leng Ruoxue reminded helplessly. However, she admired the spirit of these two foxes. Human, we would rather die than be caught by you. The largest male fire fox glared at them with a pair of glass-like eyes and said viciously. Are you guys planning to self-destruct? Leng Ruoxue asked. I'd rather die in pieces than live in dishonor. The male fire fox said with great momentum. Although they were already at the end of their flight, they absolutely could not be looked down upon by the enemy. Foxes also had their dignity. Even if they died, they had to die with honor. Oh! Leng Ruoxue softly replied. Then, she summoned the charm, treasure and the shine from the bracelet. Perhaps it would be easier to communicate with the same kind. Cute master. Baby first affectionately rubbed against Leng Ruoxue as soon as baby came out, then, it took small, square steps and very elegantly walked in front of the three fire foxes. He carefully sized up the three fire foxes before calmly saying, Little fire. Don't treat my master as an enemy. My master is the best master in the world. Chapter 687, The Fire Fox Couple, 3, Humph. No human is trustworthy. The male fire fox said with extreme disdain. It had lived for several hundred years and was well aware of the evil habits of humans. In the past, the number of fire foxes that died at the hands of humans was not small. Many of them were even forced to become contract beasts of humans. From then on, they lost their freedom and were ordered by humans, becoming humans' hired thugs. Little Fire. I admit that there are degenerates among humans, but you can't overturn a whole ship of people with one stick. My master and the rest are all good people. Moreover, my master can also save you and your wife. Baby said confidently. Hee hee. This temptation is big enough, right? There's no need for that. We would rather die than become contracted beasts of humans. Humph. To think that even the purple pupil snow fox has fallen to attach itself to humans. To think that you are the king of the fox race. You have disgraced our fox race. The male fire fox glanced at Charm and said in extreme disappointment. There were not many foxes in this world. Other than those that had been killed and contracted by humans, there were probably less than 100 that had free bodies. As for the purple pupil snow fox, it had long vanished. And the one it saw today had acknowledged humans as its master. Therefore, it was rather disappointed. Ah! Standing not far away, Charm, which was shot while lying down, was still depressed. The fury in its heart burned wildly. Who do you think it provoked? It still hadn't said anything. Why did this detestable male fox direct the fire onto it? Of course, it was still unclear about the current situation of the vast Heaven Continent's fox clan. Otherwise, it wouldn't be so angry. Len Ruoxua looked at the aggrieved Mei and held her in her arms, comforting her. Charm, patients are all unreasonable, let's not argue with them. Charm nodded its furry little head. Its beautiful purple eyes were filled with tears of grievance. It would not bicker with a heavily injured and unreasonable fox even though this fire fox despised it. That would be too ungentlemanly. Good girl. Len Ruoxua caressed its soft fur and felt a little guilty in her heart. Sigh. Initially, she thought it would be easier to communicate with her own kind. However, she was clearly wrong because this was clearly a little angry fox. However, she, who had always liked small animals, would not be calculative with a bad-tempered beast. Furthermore, she could not bear to let the little fox, who had just been born and had not fully opened her eyes, lose the protection of her parents and become an orphan. Therefore, she would save these two unfriendly beasts. Thinking up to here, Len Ruoxua took out 2 round and pure white medicinal pellets and said to the male fox, I never thought of making you guys my contract beasts. I just want to help you guys. Here are 2 medicinal pellets, enough to treat your injuries. Of course, whether you eat it or not is up to you. After she finished speaking, Len Ruoxua handed the medicinal pill to Dazzle. She indicated for Dazzle to place the medicinal pill beside them. After that, she gave everyone a look and everyone left with large strides. It was close to noon. Len Ruoxua and the others found a random place to start a fire and prepare lunch. After the fire was lit, Len Ruoxua placed the fish and meat she had prepared on the fire and sat down. Shuer, are you unhappy? The freak sat down beside Shuer and asked. No, it's normal for beasts not to like humans. It's not like I only found out today. Len Ruoxua shook her head. She never liked to use her warm face to stick to other people's cold buttocks. If it wasn't for that newborn fox, she wouldn't have meddled in other people's business. Moreover, because she had loved animals since she was young, she couldn't ignore beasts. Therefore, even though the 2 big foxes were very wary of her, she still left them some medicine that could treat injuries. She hoped that the 2 stubborn fire foxes and their wife would work hard to live for their children. Cute master, I love you the most. Baby jumped into Len Ruoxua's arms and said coquettishly. Then, it continued to rub against her chest. Be good. Len Ruoxua caressed her baby's fur and said happily. Oh, her beasts were all so cute, she was already very satisfied. So, why did she have to take it to heart because of a beast that viewed humans as an enemy? Master. I'm very happy that you're my master. Charm also jumped into Len Ruoxua's embrace and said with a face full of reliance. Even though she had just been looked down upon by her own kind, she was very glad that she had a master who cared about Beast and treated Beast like a family member. Ha! Charm is getting cuter and cuter. Leng Ruoxu's beautiful face was filled with satisfaction. Schwer, am I not cute? The freak immediately protested. Cute. Leng Ruoxu quickly coaxed. Sigh. The freak always liked to fight for favor with her Beast. She really couldn't do anything to him. That's more like it. The freak nodded in satisfaction. Miss, the food is ready. At this time, Fengde suddenly walked over and said. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. And, let everyone come and eat. The meat is almost done roasting, Leng Ruoxu said. Then, she used a dagger to cut a few pieces of golden roasted meat and handed them to the little beastie around her. Fengde and the others also walked over and sat around the fire. Everyone was eating the roasted meat in their hands as they chatted. Suddenly, a red light flashed. After that, Lu Tao realized that the meat in her hands had disappeared. Huh? Where's my roast meat? Lu Tao asked in confusion. The red light was too fast for her to react. When she came back to her senses, the meat in her hand had already disappeared. Lu Tao, your meat is over there. Fengde pointed at the little fiery red beast that was eating the roasted meat with its eyes half closed and a slightly speechless expression. Ah! It's that little fox. Isn't it just born? Why is it so fast? Lu Tao was a little speechless. She was a mystic monarch after all. Her roasted meat was actually stolen by a little fox who had yet to fully open her eyes. If this got out, she would be too ashamed to face anyone. Fire foxes are most proficient in both fire and wind elements, and it specializes in speed, Charm explained. Little guy, why are you running around everywhere? Where are your parents? Leng Ruoxu picked up the little fire fox that was happily eating and asked in confusion. Chapter 688, The Fire Fox Couple, 4, that way. The little fire fox gently pointed and said in a childish voice. At the same time, it didn't forget to nibble on the roasted meat in its paws. Oh, it was so fragrant. It couldn't resist the temptation of this delicious food, so it could only run over and snatch it. Leng Ruoxu looked in the direction the little fire fox was pointing at and saw two slightly shy fire foxes coming out from behind the bushes. Their fur was glossy and slippery, and their injuries were all healed. Why are you guys here? Leng Ruoxu asked in confusion. These two foxes hated humans so much, shouldn't they stay far away from them? Why did they follow them here? Don't tell her that this was purely a coincidence, she didn't believe it. Schwer, this family of three has been tailing us all along. Empty said with a smile. Actually, he had already noticed the three little tails behind him, but he had not said anything about it. Oh. Why are you following us? Leng Ruoxu was speechless. What are these foxes up to? We're here to thank you. The fire fox couple looked at each other before the male fox spoke. There's no need to thank me. I gave you the medicinal pills because I didn't want this little fire fox to become an orphan at such a young age, and not because I want you to thank me. Leng Ruoxu said with a slightly cold tone. She still couldn't quite figure out what these two foxes wanted to do. However, she wouldn't think too much of herself and think that this fox couple was moved by her and wanted to sacrifice themselves. The male fox's face was filled with embarrassment. He wanted to say something but couldn't. He even stuttered. What do you guys want? Leng Ruoxu asked in confusion. Why did this hot-tempered male fox become so shy? Where did its imposing manner go? We don't have anywhere to go, the female fox could only speak up seeing that her husband couldn't speak. Leng Ruoxu was speechless. They had nowhere to go, what did it have to do with her? Could it be that they wanted her to take them in? Oh. This wasn't a shelter. With your strength, it shouldn't be difficult for you to occupy a territory. Empty smiled and said. These two foxes were both level 5 super divine beasts. If he said that he couldn't find a place to live in this mountain, he wouldn't believe it even if he was beaten to death. Our home has been taken over by another even more powerful beast, so we have no home to return to now, the fox mother said with a hint of sadness in her voice. It was getting harder and harder to encounter other foxes of the same species as her, but this woman had 3 of them by her side, and one of them was even a king of the fox clan. Thus, after discussing among themselves after recovering from their injuries, the 2 of them wanted to follow by the side of that snow fox. It was just that, her husband had been very rude to that snow fox, so they were a little embarrassed to speak up. In addition, they didn't know if these people would take in their family of 3. You want me to take you in? Leng Ruoxue asked. Amen. The 2 foxes nodded their heads in unison. This woman had saved their lives. As for wanting to follow by the side of the snow fox, other than the fact that the fox was publicly acknowledged as the king of the fox clan, they also wanted to repay Leng Ruoxue for saving their lives. After all, Beast knew how to repay favors. Charm, what do you think? Leng Ruoxue lowered her head and asked the Mei in her arms. That male fox was very rude to them just now. If it wasn't friendly to her, she could argue with them, but she didn't want her beast to suffer. Master, leave them behind. Charm looked at the little fire fox, who was eating roasted meat with its head lowered, and then looked at the expectant couple. Her heart softened as she spoke. In truth, she could understand the anger of a naturally proud beast when it heard that its own kind recognized another as its master. If their positions were reversed today, it was afraid that its reaction would be even more intense. Thus, after thinking it through, it no longer felt angry. And, since Charm said to keep you guys, then you guys can stay in the group. Leng Ruoxue said indifferently. Thank you. The 2 fire foxes were very happy. After thanking him, the male fox walked in front of Charm and bowed slightly. Then, he said, sorry about earlier. I was just, however, before the male fox could finish, he was interrupted by Charm. It's all right. I'm not angry anymore. Also, I can understand why your reactions are so intense. Thank you. The male fox felt relieved after hearing what Charm said. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBoxNovel. Thanks. Little Fire. Did you just say that a beast stronger than you guys occupied your home? At this time, Baby asked curiously. Yes, we were injured by that beast. The male fox lowered his head and said gloomily. Sigh. If this human hadn't saved them, they would have died and their children wouldn't have survived. What beast is that? Baby continued asking. That beast is covered in flames. I'm not sure what species it is, but it's very powerful. It's a level 8 super divine beast. The male fire fox told him what it knew. If it wasn't for the fact that I was giving birth, the 2 of us might not have been its match even if we worked together, boo-hoo, the fire fox said with great self-reproach. When that beast attacked, it happened to be giving birth. Hence, not only did its husband have to deal with that powerful beast, he also had to divert his attention to worry about it. And the fire fox was severely injured in order to protect the mother and son. After giving birth, its body was weak and it was no match for that powerful enemy. That was why the husband and wife almost died. Sigh. Luckily, this human saved them. Otherwise, their child would probably not have survived. Level 8 Transcendent Divine Beast. Its strength is indeed not low. Leng Ruoxue said with a light smile. Other than Icy, that beast should be the highest rank she knew until now. Schwer, it's not bad if a level 8 Transcendent Divine Beast becomes a contract beast, Empty said with a smile. I already have a lot of beasts. Even if they haven't reached the strength of a level 8 transcendent divine beasts, no one is their match if we attack them in groups. Len Ruoxua smiled. To others, a level 8 transcendent divine beasts might be attractive, but she wasn't too interested. Miss, that beast is of the fire attribute. It's the most suitable contract for young master, Lu Tao suggested. Chapter 689, The Adorable Beasts, 1, Haha, thank you for your kind intentions, Peach Lu. However, I really don't need it. It's better to give it to other people. Ling Ruhan declined. His beasts were enough. Even though the other party was a level 8 transcendent divine beasts, he still had no intention of taking it. Moreover, he believed that in time, his beasts would also advance to level 8 transcendent divine beasts. Therefore, he was not in a hurry. If anyone else knew that a level 8 transcendent divine beasts had appeared here, they would have come to capture it long ago. However, you guys are actually making excuses. Sigh. This is too much, Wu Xiao teased. So what if it's a level 8 transcendent divine beast? If my beast uses a tag team battle, it will still have to surrender. Len Ruoxue said disapprovingly. In fact, she knew that the higher the rank of the beast, the more prideful it would be and the harder it would be to tame it. Moreover, she did not want it to be difficult for strong beasts. Therefore, unless it was necessary, she would not use beast taming to forcefully tame those arrogant beasts. Moreover, she seemed to prefer raising them from a young age, hee. Therefore, although her beasts had yet to reach the 8th rank, their feelings for her were very deep. It was not something ordinary beasts could compare to. Yes. My cute master, isn't it just a level 8 super divine beast? Don't be afraid, leave it to us, Baby said confidently. Hee. They did not like to play by the rules, so they were not afraid of level 8 super divine beasts. Of course, that was excluding freaks like Icy. Master, it'll reach level 8 sooner or later, Charm said. Well, it had decided to cultivate hard and strive to become a level 9 transcendent divine beasts as soon as possible. Even though it might not be comparable to the Ice Qilin in terms of bloodline, it believed that it would not be inferior to the Qilin if it advanced to level 9 transcendent divine beast. And, I'm already very satisfied with you guys. Len Ruoxue raised the 2 furry little beasts in her arms high up in front of her. Oh, her own beast looked so cute no matter how she looked at it. Hee. Our young Miss Beast pets are all delivered to her doorstep. Fengde said with a smile. He knew from the past that his young Miss attraction to beast pets was unrivaled. Sigh. You guys. Wu Qing sighed, his handsome face full of helplessness. Shuer, are we going to look for that level 8 super divine beast? Leng Qingtian, who had been silent all this while, asked. Let's go, we can train our beasts. Len Ruoxue thought for a while and said. Although she was not very interested in the level 8 super divine beast, it was not bad to let the beast be a sparring partner for her own beast. I'll bring you there, the male fox volunteered. It was so excited. It finally had a chance to take revenge. Now that it and its wife were working together with this lattice beasts, that level 8 transcendent divine beast would definitely surrender. Hee, it was even more confident with a backer. Len Ruoxue nodded. Looking at the excitement of the fire fox couple, she knew that these 2 little guys also wanted revenge. After everyone finished eating and tidied up, the fire fox couple led them to their former residence. After walking for nearly an hour and passing through several mountains, Len Ruoxue and the others were brought to a mountain stream by Huo Hu and his wife. Before they even got close, they could already see 2 streams of fiery red magma like 2 red ribbons crossing the mountain stream, splitting the entire mountain stream into 2. It's so hot in here, Vonda said, unable to stand the heat. At the same time, she kept wiping the sweat from her forehead with her hand. This is the core of the entire fiery mountain, of course it's hot. Len Ruoxue said knowingly. These two fire foxes were super divine beasts with both fire and wind attributes, so they naturally liked places with abundant fire attributes spiritual energy. Master, I like this place, hee hee. Feng Zhan chuckled as it spoke. It was so comfortable that its eyes were half closed, and its face was filled with enjoyment. Suddenly, Feng Zhan fell from Leng Ruoxu's shoulders with a plop sound, its claws hitting the ground. Ha! Who asked you to be so proud of yourself? Now, extreme joy brings sorrow. Feng De laughed happily. Damn it! Why did you kick me? Feng Zhan glared at the treasure that had yet to retract its leg and roared out fiercely. Because you're not pleasing to the eye. Humph. Who asked you to be so complacent? Baby said with a furious expression. After that, he released another water element profound technique that completely drenched Feng Zhan. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBoxNovel. Thanks. Master, my darling is bullying me. Feng Zhan, who was drenched like a soup bird, had tears in its eyes as it looked at Leng Ruoxue pitifully. Unfortunately, it was ignored by its own master. Where is that level 8 transcendent divine beast? Leng Ruoxue pretended not to see Feng Zhan's pleading expression and said directly to the fire fox. It's in that cave. The male fire fox pointed at the cave nearby. Then, it looked at Feng Zhan with extreme sympathy. Sigh. Poor little red bird. It knew that other than fire attribute beasts, the other beasts wouldn't like this place, yet she was still so arrogant. Who else would he kick if not you? Oh, let's go in. Leng Ruoxue said. After that, she directly walked past Feng Zhan who was still lying on the ground acting shamelessly and headed towards the cave that Gong Hua who had mentioned. Everyone looked at Feng Zhan with sympathy and quickly followed Leng Ruoxue. Master, wait for me. Woo! Seeing this, Feng Zhan hurriedly got up from the ground and flew towards Leng Ruoxue. At the same time, it was a little depressed. Why did a trick of self-injury not work today? Actually, what it didn't know was that Leng Ruoxue also felt that it was a little too proud, so she deliberately ignored it. When Feng Zhan chased after them, Leng Ruoxue and the others were already standing at the entrance of the cave. The cave was about half the height of a person and wasn't very big. However, when they looked into the cave through the entrance, it was pitch black inside. Therefore, they were hesitating whether they should all enter. Master, leave the vanguard to me. Feng Zhan said with an ingratiating expression. It looked extremely obedient. Let's go in together. Leng Ruoxue thought for a while and said. There were level 8 super divine beasts inside. She was really worried about letting Feng Zhan go in to scout. Furthermore, this was the fire fox's home, so they should be very familiar with the situation inside. With the two fire foxes leading the way, it would definitely be much safer than Feng Zhan going in himself. Chapter 690, The Adorable Beasts, 2, N. Feng Zhan quickly nodded his head and obediently stood on Leng Ruoxue's shoulder. Miss, apart from that level 8 transcendent divine beasts, there shouldn't be any other danger here. The male fire fox thought for a while and said. Even though this was their home, they had never ventured deep into the volcano before. Hence, they were not very clear about what was in the depths of the volcano. Let's go in. Leng Ruoxue turned around and said to everyone. As soon as Leng Ruoxue finished speaking, the fire fox couple jumped into the cave first, followed by Feng Zhan, Charm and Baby. Swear, I'll go in first. The demon said, then bent down and entered the cave. Okay. Leng Ruoxue agreed. She knew that the demon wanted to protect her, so she was very willing to give this opportunity to the demon. When everyone entered the cave one by one, they were surprised to discover that the situation inside was different from what they had seen outside. From the outside, the inside of the cave was pitch black. However, after entering, they realized that it was actually very spacious and bright inside. There were even sparks flashing on the fiery red walls from time to time. Moreover, the fire attribute's spiritual energy here was also quite rich. Feng Zhan, this place seems to be bigger than the volcano beneath your phoenix nest. Leng Ruoxue sized up the surroundings before speaking. Yes. Feng Zhan nodded. This place was indeed much better than the volcano beneath their phoenix nest because the area here was large enough. Moreover, the location of their phoenix nest wasn't something that could be chosen by the Phoenix clan. Otherwise, they would have chosen a good place to be their home. Miss, that level 8 transcendent divine beasts should be at the magma pool, the male fire fox explained, because they also lived there. Bring us there. Leng Ruoxue instructed. Yes. The male fire fox nodded. Then, he led Leng Ruoxue and the others to turn left and right. Soon, they arrived at their former residence. After Leng Ruoxue and the rest reached the magma pool, they looked around but did not find any beast. As for Feng Zhan, who was standing on Leng Ruoxue's shoulder, when it saw the fiery red lava pool that was emitting bubbles, it was as if it saw its own family. It directly flew to the side of the lava pool and plunged in. Ah! It doesn't mind being hot. Feng De said with a face full of black lines. He was so scared that his heart was trembling, and he couldn't help but let his imagination run wild. If it were him, he would have been roasted a long time ago. Humph. That little fire bird loves lava the most. Baby said with disdain. Just as Baby finished speaking, the wind and clouds suddenly changed. 2 fiery red flames soared into the sky. One big and one small, they faced each other in midair. Damn it, who dares to snatch my territory without a care for their own lives? The huge flame roared angrily. Its powerful voice frightened Feng De and the others so much that they were trembling all over. Ah! Of course, they weren't scared. It was just that this voice was too valiant, comparable to the lion's roar. TCH, this is clearly the territory of those 2 big foxes. You actually have the nerve to say that it's yours. Feng Zhan said with contempt. This was really a good place. No wonder this fire phoenix had taken a fancy to it. You are the fire phoenix. Why haven't I seen you before? The huge flame felt the aura of its own kind and asked with some doubt. This fire phoenix's aura was very unfamiliar. It wasn't from their clan. Who do you think you are? Why must I let you see me? Feng Zhan said provocatively. Even though its strength was inferior to the fire phoenix, the fire phoenix's bloodline suppression was no use on him. Moreover, it had many helpers. Therefore, it was child's play to deal with this fire phoenix. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. Damn it, do you know who I am? How dare you speak to me in such a manner? The fire phoenix was enraged. The consequences were extremely dire. In addition, it was better to act than to be tempted. After which, it launched an attack towards Feng Zhan. In an instant, 2 balls of fire, one big and one small, intertwined. The fiery red flames burned with sparks, dancing in the enclosed cave. Everyone was dazzled by what they saw. Young lady, why isn't Feng Zhan transforming? Asked Lu Tao in confusion. That fire phoenix was so huge, so Feng Zhan would be at a disadvantage if he disguised himself. The small one is more agile. Leng Ruoxue said with a smile. The difference in strength caused Feng Zhan to be very clear that even if he transformed, he would not be a match for this fire phoenix. Therefore, he might as well use the small one to fight the big one and pretend to be a pig to eat the tiger. Miss, let me help it. The male fire fox looked at the 2 balls of flames fighting in mid-air and said eagerly. It never expected that the beast that had stolen its territory was actually a fire phoenix. Sigh. The fire phoenix's bloodline pressure was above it, and its body was burning with flames. No wonder it couldn't tell what kind of beast it was. However, what surprised it even more was that the small bird was also from the Feng clan. Go. Leng Ruoxua nodded. She knew that the fire fox couple wanted to take revenge, so she naturally wouldn't stop them. Young miss, that fire phoenix is a shrew. It's really too scary, Fengde said with a face full of fear. Oh, this was the first time he had heard of a beast that claimed to be his mother. Damn it, who are you calling a shrew? Even though Feng Da's voice was not loud, it could not escape the ears of a level 8 transcendent divine beast. Therefore, when it heard someone call it a shrew, it was a little angry. Humph. It especially hated hearing that word. Thinking of this, it split out a flame and attacked Feng Da. Ah! Miss, save me. When Feng Da saw the flame, he hurriedly cried for help. Boo-hoo. He did not like fire. Leng Ruoxua helplessly shook her head. After that, a fire attribute profound energy was released from her fingertip and she used the flame. How could this be? Seeing its own flame being absorbed by Leng Ruoxua, the fire phoenix couldn't help but be momentarily stunned. Oh, you are indeed a shrew. However, your opponent is me. You are not allowed to be distracted. When Feng Zhan saw that the fire phoenix was actually in a mental state while fighting with it, it could not help but say with some dissatisfaction. Damn it. You're not allowed to call me a shrew. The fire phoenix instantly returned to its senses when it heard the word shrew, and then it roared fiercely at Feng Zhan. Chapter 691, The Adorable Beasts, 3, Humph. And you say you're not a shrew? I've never seen a phoenix as rude as you. Feng Zhan laughed evilly and provoked, then it found an opportunity to launch a sneak attack. The male fire fox on the ground kept its eyes fixed on the two beasts and took advantage of their bickering to launch a sneak attack. Ah! Damn it, you all are too despicable. The fire phoenix who was successively ambushed became furious, truly wishing to cut this bird and fox into pieces. This is called all is fair in war. Humph. You said we're despicable, but aren't you despicable? Taking advantage of the fact that the fire fox is about to give birth to a baby and stealing other people's territory. You're the most despicable villain. Feng Zhan said with a face full of contempt. In this world, the strong are respected. Their strength is inferior to mine, so it's natural for them to give up their territory to me, the fire phoenix explained. It did not feel that there was anything wrong with snatching someone else's territory because this was the law of the jungle in the beast world. Yes, what you said makes sense. Then I'll seize your territory. Feng Zhan nodded and said. You want to snatch my territory? Can you defeat me? The F mocked. In truth, it was furious in its heart because this fellow was really too cunning. It actually used its impersonation to fight with it, causing its attacks to be unable to hit the fire phoenix. It was really infuriating. TCH, although my strength is inferior to yours, I have helpers. Feng Zhan said proudly. Just as he finished speaking, the male fox on the ground took the opportunity and successfully ambushed him again. Ah, the fire phoenix cried out in shock. After that, it glared fiercely at the male fox on the ground who was slightly complacent. It was really courting death. It actually dared to spank its butt. You are screaming so wildly. Could it be that you have hit an important part of your body? Feng Zhan laughed evilly. Its eyes were looking at a certain part of the fire phoenix. The expression on its face was really wretched. Damn it, you pervert. The fire phoenix was enraged by Feng Zhan's bloodshot eyes, and the flames on its body burned even more intensely. Ah! Listening to the conversation between the two beasts, Leng Ruoxua and the others couldn't help but break out in cold sweat. At the same time, they couldn't help but think to themselves, Feng Zhan, you are so evil. At this moment, Silver Wing's dissatisfied voice came from Leng Ruoxua's heart. Master, I want to go out and teach this fire phoenix a lesson. Silver Wings, who had been shot while lying down, was furious. Ah! All right then. Len Ruoxue helplessly moved the silver wolf's representatives out from the bracelet. She knew that the fire phoenix's you pervert had definitely caused the silver wolves to be dissatisfied. Ah! Her beasts all had very strong self-esteem. After the silver wolves came out, they formed a circle with tacit understanding and surrounded Feng Zhan and the fire phoenix in midair. Feng Zhan, quickly get this female bird off. Silver Wings roared loudly, and an angry aura emitted from its nose. How do we get it? Feng Zhan asked in a somewhat puzzled manner. It wanted to lure the fire phoenix down, but this female beast did not fall for it. Feng Zhan, take out your manly courage and force yourself on it. Ha! A silver wolf suggested with a serious expression. I don't want it. My standards are very high. I don't fancy such a shrew. Feng Zhan said with a face full of disdain. In its heart, it couldn't help but break out in cold sweat. Ah! Why would this silver wolf have such thoughts? It was so depressed that it wanted to vomit blood. Damn perverts, I won't let you off. You're dead. When the fire phoenix heard the silver wolf's suggestion to get that fire phoenix to rape it, it was so angry that it almost vomited blood. Hey, you female firebird. You scolded others as pervert just now and now you're scolding us. Did our wolf clan offend you? Why are you making things difficult for us? Silver Wings roared with an unfriendly expression. It was so angry that the fur on its body almost stood up. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. You're all perverts to begin with, the fire phoenix said disapprovingly. If it wasn't a pervert, would that damned silver wolf have such obscene suggestions? On the battlefield, the beasts were engaged in a heated war of words, while Len Ruoxue and the rest were whispering to each other. Schwer, your beast is really extraordinarily powerful, huh? Empty laughed naughtily. He almost burst out laughing when he heard the silver wolf's suggestion. Ha! How could there be such a cute beast? That's right. Len Ruoxue's forehead was filled with black lines. She was so embarrassed that she wished she could find a hole to hide in. Sob, this was too embarrassing. How could her beast have such evil thoughts? However, when her beast said those words in an incomparably serious manner, it was really extremely cute. A fire phoenix isn't that easy to force. Icy, which was lying in Len Ruoxue's embrace after it came out with the silver wolves to watch the show, spoke with a serious expression. But I can help, Icy added. Ah. Len Ruoxue wiped the cold sweat off her forehead. Then, she looked at Empty with a faint smile and felt a little better. It seemed her beast wasn't the only one that was powerful. It was even more powerful and domineering here. Then what are you waiting for? Hurry up and help. Empty said without any composure. Okay. Icy replied happily and then jumped into the battlefield. Feng Zhan, who was in midair, looked at the ice unicorn that suddenly jumped out and was shocked in its heart. He almost fell from the sky. Woo! Was this fellow here to cause trouble? With Icy around, they could forget about attacking. Little Feng, I've come to help you. Icy glanced at Feng Zhan, who had a bitter expression, and said with a smile. Oh, it seemed like it hadn't made a move for a long time and its hooves were itching. Icy then opened its mouth and started brewing. Ha! A little dog actually dares to send itself to death. It really doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. The depressed fire phoenix said with a bit of mockery when it saw the little dog that suddenly rushed into the battlefield. You'll regret it if you look down on it. Feng Zhan kindly reminded and gloated at the fire phoenix. One had to know that Icy hated people calling it puppy the most. Hee. Apart from the fire fox and its wife who didn't know the truth, everyone present, as well as the beasts all looked at the fire phoenix with sympathy. At this time, Icy was almost done brewing. Its large mouth opened and closed, and a few sneezes were released from its mouth. With several loud bangs, the fire phoenix in the air was knocked down from the sky by that powerful sneeze without the slightest bit of preparation. Chapter 692, The Adorable Beasts. 4. As soon as the fire phoenix fell to the ground, the silver wolves that were on standby swarmed up and began to beat up the fire phoenix that was using them as a bargaining chip. When the fire fox couple saw the situation before them, they were stunned for a moment. However, they quickly reacted and joined the army. In an instant, fiery red feathers flew everywhere, and the painful cries of the fire phoenix could be heard from time to time. Ah! Save me! The fire phoenix cried out for help for the umpteenth time. Unfortunately, not a single person was willing to help it. Ah! Young lady, that fire phoenix is so pitiful. Cui Zhu said with some sympathy. Being soft-hearted to the enemy is the same as being cruel to yourself. Therefore, we definitely cannot sympathize with it. Baby said with a calm expression. Although it did not attack this time, it was still cheering. Ha! Baby is right. Leng Ruoxua caressed baby's head and said happily. After an unknown period of time, the cries of the fire phoenix became weaker and weaker, and the beasts were also done fighting. At this time, Icy slowly walked over. When the beasts saw it, they felt that they had to give it space. Do you still dare call me a puppy? Icy looked down from above, its face full of arrogance. It extended a hoof, purposely stepping on the fire phoenix's wound, feeling extremely discontent inside. Humph. It would have killed this bird if not for the fact that it was from the Phoenix clan. No, I don't dare to, boo-hoo, the fire phoenix's face was filled with grievance as it carefully said. This fellow was really too abnormal. Just a few sneezes had caused it to be dazed. Not only that, but it actually didn't have the strength to retaliate in front of this little dog. At this moment, it also knew that this little dog's strength was above its own, so it didn't dare to act rashly. Humph. If you dare to call me a puppy again, I don't care if you are from the Phoenix clan, I will still roast and eat all your fur. Icy threatened. No, I don't dare anymore. The fire phoenix's fiery red eyes were full of tears, and it said with a face full of fear. Boo-hoo. It already didn't have many feathers left on its body, so it didn't want to become a bald fire phoenix. At least you know what's good for you. Little Feng Feng, you can deal with this little fire phoenix however you want. It doesn't matter if you force yourself on it. Icy nodded its head in satisfaction, then said to Feng Zhan with a mischievous smile. I don't want to. My standards are very high. Feng Zhan was terrified to the point of trembling, and it hurriedly said. Sigh. Little Feng Feng doesn't like you. Why don't I find you another bird? Icy frowned as it thought. No, there's no need. Thank you for your kind intentions. The flame phoenix said in a depressed manner. It was so scared that its body was trembling. Boo-hoo, this puppy was too terrifying. It decided that it would stay away from all puppies in the future. Hee, since that's the case, then I won't say anything more. In the future, you have to listen to little Snowy. You have to do whatever she tells you to do. You are not allowed to resist, and you are not allowed to talk back. Otherwise, bear the consequences yourself. Icy made its request without any hesitation. Yes, I understand. The fire phoenix said softly. Boo-hoo. Even though it did not know who little Snowy was, it did not dare to disobey the little dog's words. Its heart was filled with regret. Boo-hoo. If it had known earlier, why would it leave the clan? Now, not only was it beaten up, it might even become a contract beast of a human. Even though it was extremely unwilling, it did not have any thoughts of resisting under the pressure of that little dog. Follow me. Icy pointed at the fire phoenix with its little hooves. After speaking, it walked in front, while the pitiful flame phoenix limped behind it obediently. Little Snowy, this fire phoenix is yours. Icy jumped into Len Ruox's embrace and found a comfortable position to lie down on as it fawned over her. I don't want to. Len Ruoxua looked up and down at the fire phoenix that was covered in injuries and looked pitiful. Her beautiful face was filled with disdain. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. Ugh. The fire phoenix, who was lamenting in its heart that it was about to become a contract beast of the human race, heard Len Ruox's words. Not only did it not feel happy, it felt depressed instead. It was a phoenix. As a level 8 transcendent divine beasts, the genius of the new generation in the clan, it was actually despised by a small human. How could its proud heart accept this? Why? Icy blinked its beautiful ice blue eyes and asked in confusion. This beast's strength was not bad. At least it was stronger than that kitten. Why didn't little Snowy want it? I don't lack beasts. Len Ruoxua said calmly. Little Snowy, no one will complain about having too many beasts. Of course, Icy knew that little Snowy did not lack beasts. However, if they could contract more, who would complain about having too many beasts? One had to know that beasts were the greatest help in battle. Master, if you don't want to contract it, then let it be my subordinate. Feng Zhan flew over and spoke with an evil smile on its face. Hee, taking in a level 8 transcendent divine beast as an errand boy, let's see if that cat still dares to bully it in the future. Little Feng, didn't you say you were not interested in it? Icy said meaningfully, its furry little face had a wretched smile. I just want to find an errand girl. Feng Zhan said somewhat angrily. However, it did not dare to flare up in front of this pervert. Boo-hoo, this little dog was not someone it could provoke. Oh. Little Snowy, since I've already given you this fire phoenix, you can decide. Icy intentionally made a long O sound and then calmly said to Len Ruoxua. And, do any of you want to contract this fire phoenix? Len Ruoxua asked indifferently. Everyone looked at each other and shook their heads in fear. What a joke. Who would dare to contract a beast that was so strong? Wouldn't that be finding an ancestor for themselves? So, no matter how strong this beast was, they would still keep a respectful distance because they couldn't afford it. Moreover, how could they lose a beast if they followed their miss? Oh, looks like no one wants to contract you. Feng Zhan, I'll give it to you as a subordinate. Len Ruoxua said generously. Hee. Thank you, master. Feng Zhan said happily. With a level 8 transcendent divine beast as its subordinate, it would definitely be able to do whatever it wanted in front of that little white cat in the future. Chapter 693, Year Fire Ginseng, 1, Little Fire Phoenix, from now on, you're my subordinate. You have to protect this big brother. Feng Zhan said to the depressed fire phoenix again. Yes, the fire phoenix said, a little depressed. Moreover, it was definitely not just depressed. It had originally thought that it would become a contract beast for humans, but it had actually been looked down upon by all the humans present. Boo-hoo. Even though it was better to be a subordinate to its own kind than to be a contract beast for humans, for some reason, it felt uncomfortable in its heart. Alright, from now on, we're all on the same side. Fire Phoenix, you're the strongest amongst the beasts but you're not allowed to bully other beasts. Len Ruoxua warned. She was afraid that this proud phoenix wouldn't be convinced and would bully her cute beasts, so she naturally had to say the ugly words first. I understand. The fire phoenix said in an extremely wronged manner. Boo-hoo, its strength was clearly not the strongest, okay? That little dog was. However, it definitely did not dare to say these words under the threat of Icy's gaze. Let's go. Can we go out from that side? Len Ruoxua pointed to the other side of the passage and asked. If they went back the way they came, it would be a bit far. Should be able to. The fire phoenix said with uncertainty. Ever since it occupied this place, it had always been cultivating in the magma pool, not going there. Shuaer, let's go over there and try. Empty suggested. N. Leng Ruoxua nodded her head. After that, she pulled the two of them to walk side by side at the front. No one else followed closely behind. The few little beasts and the limping fire phoenix walked at the back. Little fire bird, don't even think about escaping. Silver Wing, who was following behind the fire phoenix, warned. I have no intention of escaping. The fire phoenix angrily denied. In fact, it really did have that thought. However, it didn't dare to implement it because it was very afraid of that little dog. Now that its thoughts had been seen through by that damned pervert, it was furious. Hee hee. Its injuries are so serious, where can it run to? The male fire fox gloated. Seeing this fire phoenix covered in wounds and limping, it was even happier than killing its enemy. You're right. Silver Wing sized up the fire phoenix and then said indifferently, hee hee. Master didn't give it any healing medicinal pills, probably afraid that it'll flee. If its injuries really recover, then it'll probably be difficult to capture it again. Leng Ruoxua and the others walked through two passageways and saw the exit. This entrance was much bigger than the one they entered earlier. The two of them could walk out side by side. However, when they got closer, they realized why no one entered or left this entrance. It was because the bottom of the entrance was made up of endless fiery red magma and a sea of fire. The scorching temperature inside was something even fire attribute beasts could not withstand. Little fire phoenix, how nice this place is. Tell me, why are you fighting over territory with the fire fox? Feng Zhan said with a grin. Ah. It was too hot here, and it could barely stand it. If you like it, you can stay here. The fire phoenix rolled its eyes at Feng Zhan and angrily said. Forget about the fact that it had not discovered this place back then. Even if it had seen it, it would not have chosen this place. Other than the heat, there was basically not much fire attribute spiritual aura here. Only a fool would like this place. Stop arguing, think about how to get out. Leng Ruoxua said with a headache. Sigh. If she had known this would happen, she would have gone back the way she came. It was stuffy and hot here, the air had evaporated, how could she still see the spiritual aura? Master, let little fire phoenix take us up there. Feng Zhan suggested. Even though it was hot here, it was still bearable for the fire phoenix clan. Moreover, the fire phoenix's strength was high, so it naturally had to do the manual labor. Leng Ruoxua nodded. Then, she put her grandfather and the rest of the beast men into her bracelet, leaving only the monster, Wu, Icy and Feng Zhan outside. What about them? The fire phoenix asked in surprise when it saw the others and the beast disappeared in front of it. Bring us out. Leng Ruoxua instructed, not answering the fire phoenix's question. Yes. The fire phoenix indicated for Leng Ruoxua and the other two beasts to sit on its back. Then, it flapped its wings and flew high up, leaving the cave. However, its heart was constantly thinking about the whereabouts of those people and beasts that had disappeared. After flying to a safe place, the fire phoenix descended while Leng Ruoxua and the others immediately jumped off its back. After that, she moved grandfather and the others out from the bracelet. When the fire phoenix saw all of this, its face was filled with disbelief. However, it did not ask anything else. However, it could not help but think in its heart, It seemed that this human had many secrets. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. Shuer, where is this place? Leng Qingtian looked at the bare hill in front of him and asked in confusion. Was this still the fiery mountain? It didn't seem as hot as before. This is the place. Leng Ruoxua looked at the scenery in front of her and shook her head. She didn't know where they were either. At this moment, they were on a hill and there were roads on both sides. She didn't know where they led to. Miss, this should be the southernmost area of Fiery Mountain. This place is already very far from the center of the Fiery Mountain, so it's not that hot anymore. The male fire fox carefully observed the terrain, then opened his mouth to speak. Those pink eyes were filled with admiration for Len Ruoxue. That was because it never thought that this human woman would actually have such a beautiful space even in its dreams. The spirit chi inside was simply not something any place in the vast heaven continent could compare to. And this made it even more determined. It wanted to follow their determination. Oh. Len Ruoxue nodded. Before she could figure out which direction to go, she saw a group of people coming from the left. There were about 30 people in this group. The one leading them was a middle-aged man with ordinary facial features and a pair of extremely bright eyes. He gave off an extraordinary presence and possessed the strength of a mystic sovereign. Not only that, most of these people were actually mystic sovereign. Only a small portion were mystic monarchs. Are you also here to look for the fire ginseng? After seeing Len Ruoxue and the others, the middle-aged man in the lead asked enthusiastically. That's right. Len Ruoxue's gaze collided with the freak's. After that, she faintly replied, even though she had no idea where the fire ginseng was. Chapter 694, Nian Fire Ginseng, 2, haha. Since fate has brought us together, why don't we go together? The middle-aged man said straightforwardly and extended an invitation to Len Ruoxue and the others. Uncle, their strength is so low. If we bring them along, they'll be a burden to us. As soon as the middle-aged man finished speaking, someone immediately became displeased. Len Ruoxue raised her beautiful eyes and sized up the woman who spoke. She smiled lightly and said, "Thank you for your kind intentions. Since you're afraid we'll drag you down, then let's go our separate ways." Humph. At least you know what's good for you, the woman said proudly. Ah. I'm really sorry. I originally thought that the more people there were, the stronger I would be. I didn't expect, the middle-aged man said a little embarrassedly. He only spoke halfway before fiercely glaring at the woman who called him uncle. It doesn't matter, Len Ruoxue said with some disapproval. However, she was thinking about how to get the ginseng out of their mouths. After all, Qing Ju had given her a mission just now, telling her to get the ginseng. Sigh. If only the baby was here. That way, even if she didn't ask, she would know what she wanted. Then we'll take our leave. The middle-aged man said somewhat embarrassedly. Then, he led the group past Len Ruoxue and the others and headed towards the depths. Shuer, are you following them? Empty asked softly. He knew that Shuer was probably interested in the fire ginseng. Len Ruoxue nodded. Since she didn't have a chance to get information out of him, she decided to follow behind them to where the fire ginseng might appear. Seeing Len Ruoxue nod her head, everyone followed readily behind that group of people, heading deeper into the mountain. After walking for about an hour, Len Ruoxue and the others arrived at a cave that was half a person tall. This seemed to be their destination because there were already many people gathered there. Hey! Why are you all so shameless? Why are you following us? The woman was no longer calm after seeing Len Ruoxue and the others. What a joke. Does the road belong to your family? Only you can walk, but we can't. Besides, there are so many people here. Did they all follow you here? Fengde questioned with a face full of disdain. Meyer, shut up. The middle-aged man growled in anger. Sigh. This niece of his was really too insensible. There were so many people here, how could she have the right to speak? Miss Lu, we arrived here first. At this moment, a young man said with a faint smile. However, his gaze could not help but drift to Len Ruoxue. The reason why he said this was to give Len Ruoxue a good impression. Ha! Miss Lu, heavenly treasures don't belong to whoever gets there first. Another person echoed. You guys, everyone's strange gazes made Lu Mai's beautiful face turn red. It's all your fault. I really don't know how you seduced them, to actually make them stand on your side. Lu Mei raged with jealousy, her face full of anger as she pointed the spearhead at Leng Ruoxue. Hearing Lu Mai's words, Leng Ruoxue was depressed. Sigh. What did this have to do with her? Did she get shot while lying down? Women who were burning with jealousy were indeed unreasonable, but this was the first time she had seen this woman. So, she really couldn't understand why this woman was so hostile towards her. Suddenly, Pa! Lu Tao slapped Lu Mai's face, making her dumbfounded. How can you slander my young miss? You really don't know what's good for you. Peach roared in anger, fully displaying her hidden lion-like qualities. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. My dear Lu Tao, does it hurt? You can just kill this kind of woman directly. Why do you have to do it yourself? Fengde took Lu Tao's fair and tender hand and gently blew on it, then said with a face full of heartache. That's true. Lu Tao nodded in agreement. Everyone, I'm really sorry. It's all my fault for not disciplining her properly. Please let Meyer off on my account. The middle-aged man hurriedly pleaded. Even though this niece of his was quite annoying sometimes, he couldn't just watch as these people killed Meyer right in front of him. Uncle. They're just some great mystic cultivators. Why are you begging them? I don't believe they'd dare to kill me. Lu Mei snapped out of her daze. When she saw her uncle begging Leng Ruoxue and the others, she instantly felt upset. She couldn't care less about the burning pain on her face and directly shouted. Shut your mouth. The middle-aged man roared in anger. She really was a blind person. If these people didn't have any backing, would they dare come here to look for the fire ginseng? Looks like your niece doesn't appreciate your kindness. Leng Ruoxue smiled and said to the middle-aged man. I am truly sorry. Please give me some face and don't lower yourself to her level. She has been spoiled by my brother. The middle-aged man said in a very humble manner. I'm best at educating the daughters of spoiled, arrogant daughters. Do you want me to help you train her? Leng Ruoxue said sincerely. Oh, she really wanted to help. Ah. There's no need. It's fine as long as you don't mind her lack of manners. The middle-aged man hurriedly said. Then, he wiped the cold sweat off his forehead without leaving a trace. He couldn't help but feel nervous. The people around you are all so fierce. If Meyer really fell into your hands, that would be great. I'm sorry, I'm being calculative. Leng Ruoxue said coldly. Then, she pulled the demon to a secluded spot and sat down. Ugh! The middle-aged man was speechless. He didn't expect that the other party wouldn't even give him face. Sigh. Schwer, why didn't you let me take action just now? After sitting down, the freak pulled Schwer into his embrace and unhappily said. He had originally wanted to teach that woman a lesson, but he was stopped by a look from Schwer. Now is not the time yet. It would not be too late to teach her a lesson if she is still alive after we obtain the fire ginseng. Leng Ruoxue said with a wicked smile. It was just an insignificant woman and she did not put her in her eyes at all. However, if they killed Lu Mei in public, even if the middle-aged man did not want to be their enemy, it would be impossible. Furthermore, this would expose their true strength. This would be very disadvantageous for them who were pretending to be weak to snatch the fire ginseng. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.